Chapter 1901. After being treated by the people of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, the injuries of the disciples gradually stabilized. Jiang Chun felt terrible, as if a stone had been stuffed into his chest. This was the first time he had felt so aggrieved since he had ascended to the immortal realm. Not only had he suffered great losses, but he had also almost died in the forest. After paying such a price, he did not even know what the other party looked like or who they were. Sitting on the stone steps in front of the main hall, Jiang Chun held a crystal in his hand. This was given to him by sect master Yunshi before he left. He was afraid that only the sects in the West region knew about what happened in the West region. Since Bai Xinling came back from the location realm, he did not disturb them for nothing. At the thought of this, Jiang Chun squeezed the crystal in his hand and crushed it. An invisible wave instantly spread out. After patting the broken pieces off his hand, Jiang Chun saw Lin Baichao walking towards him. Grand Elder Lin. Jiang Chun stood up and said, "Young master, the disciples of the immortal sect have been treated. No matter how serious their injuries are, they can survive. However, there is something that needs to be weighed." Lin Baichao said with a troubled expression. "Please speak, Grand Elder Lin." Jiang Chun walked down a few steps and stood in front of Lin Baichao. About 10 of them are seriously injured. If you want them to recover, you will need to use the elixirs in the prescription. However, there are less than 20 of those elixirs left. If you want to make another batch, you will need to wait for at least 100 years. So, young master, please make a decision. Do you want to use the elixirs to save their lives, or keep the elixirs for future emergencies? Lin Baichao cupped his fists at Jiang Chun and said in a deep voice, "What will happen to them if we don't use the elixirs?" Jiang Chun was in a dilemma. Not using the elixirs can only save their lives. However, I am afraid that they will not be able to cultivate in the future. Moreover, they will need someone to take care of them for a long time. Lin Baichao hesitated for a while and said the truth. Jiang Chun fell silent. This was a difficult choice for him to make. He wanted to use medicinal pills. These disciples were all carefully selected by him to enter the sect. Those who died in the deep mountains were enough to make his heart ache. If these 10 people were not treated, not only would it be a loss to the sect, but Jiang Chun would also feel guilty in his heart. However, if he used medicinal pills and something similar happened in the future, if it was Hua Fu or Jiang Yuan who were injured, wouldn't there be no way to treat them? Grand Elder Lin, if it were you, what would you choose? After a quarter of an hour, Jiang Chun still hadn't made a decision, so he could only ask, "Young master, let's be honest." Lin Baichao sighed and said, "They are just disciples who have just entered the sect. Although they have some talent, their cultivation is too low. It would be a waste to use pills on them. Why don't we just abandon them and keep the pills for later use? After 100 years, our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy will refine a new batch of pills for them to consume. Do as you wish." Jiang Chun clenched his fists and finally agreed with Lin Baichao's suggestion. "Then I'll give them ordinary pills." After receiving Jiang Chun's order, Lin Baichao nodded and turned to walk towards the disciples' residence. "I want to see them personally." Jiang Chun rubbed his face and quickly followed. Before Lin Baichao entered the room, Jiang Chun saw the 10 disciples lying on the bed. Among them was Sun Zhou, who he saw at the beginning in the deep forest. "Young master." Seeing Jiang Chun come in, the 10 people struggled to get up. Unfortunately, no matter how hard they tried, their bodies were soft and they couldn't muster any strength at all. "Don't move. I have something to say to you." Seeing them like this, Jiang Chun wanted to directly turn around and ask Lin Baichao for medicinal pills. But thinking about it, he now had such a strong opponent out of nowhere. A situation similar to Bai Xiaoyun's might happen to others. 20 medicinal pills were a lot, but who knew how many accidents would happen in 100 years? "Young master, please speak." With Jiang Chun's words, they no longer struggled. "Your injuries are a bit serious, and there is no way to treat them for the time being." Jiang Chun took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Upon hearing Jiang Chun's words, it could be seen that their eyes dimmed instantly. But disappointment was disappointment. They had long had a premonition. Sun Zhou squeezed out a smile and said, "Young master, don't be too burdened. It's already not easy for us to be alive now. However, after 100 years, the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy will refine a new batch of medicinal pills. I can guarantee that at that time, there will be 10 pills left for you. At that time, you will be able to stand up again, but I'm afraid you will have to lie down for the next 100 years. Jiang Chen couldn't bear to let them down for a long time, so he quickly said, "Really, young master?" Light reappeared in their eyes. "Of course, for the next 100 years, you will still be disciples of the 10,000 Creations Immortal Sect. I will arrange for the brothers to take care of you." Jiang Chen nodded solemnly. "Young master, if there is really a chance to stand up and cultivate again, let alone 100 years, even 1,000 years would be nothing." "Yes, young master, we are willing to wait." The few of them began to talk at the same time. For ordinary cultivators who could easily live for thousands of years, 100 years was indeed nothing. "Well, you all rest. The people of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy will come to treat you later. If there is anything you want to tell me, let the others find me." Jiang Chen nodded, glanced at them, and pushed open the door to leave. Outside, Lin Baichao waved his hand, and two people of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy brushed past Jiang Chen and went in with the medicinal pills. "Young master, the injuries of these disciples are basically under control. When I came this time, I also brought some medicinal pills and asked the Ganges Bank and Tianfu Bank to bring a lot of herbs. They are left in the Immortal Sect. If there is any emergency in the future, you don't have to come all the way to my place and delay time." Lin Baichao took out a storage ring from his sleeve and handed it to Jiang Chen. After Jiang Chen put it away, he cupped his hands and said in a deep voice, "This time, it is really thanks to great Elder Lin's help. Otherwise, these disciples would be in even more danger." "Young master, what are you talking about? The current 10,000 Creations Immortal Sect is actually the Tianji sect, right?" Lin Baichao smiled and waved his hand. "That's right." Jiang Chen did not hesitate and replied, "Then what's wrong with doing something for the disciples of my sect? If it wasn't for the fear of arousing suspicion in the immortal world, I would have brought everyone in the prescription to live in the immortal sect." Seeing Jiang Chen agree, Lin Baichao laughed heartily. "There will be such a day." Jiang Chen nodded and said, "Young master, my people and I will stay in the immortal sect for a few days to rest. This way, if the disciples have any problems, we can treat them in time." After laughing, Lin Baichao let out a long sigh. Chapter 1902. After 3 days of continuous treatment, everyone in the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy was very tired. After Jiang Chen sent Lin Baichao to the guest room to rest, he arranged for the disciples to clean up a few more guest rooms for the others and the people from the two banks to rest. "Young master," when Wei Dashuan heard that he could rest, he immediately went to find Jiang Chen. "Villa Master Wei, what's the matter?" Jiang Chen didn't have a good impression of him, but this person was quite honest after submitting to him. He managed the Heaven Province Bank in an orderly manner and didn't cause any trouble at all. "Young master, this is all the profits of the bank after you left last time. Please take a look." Wei Qing took out a piece of paper from his storage ring and presented it to Jiang Chen with both hands. "I'm not interested in this. Just tell me how many immortal jades you can give me. Now that the immortal sect has just been established, it needs money." Jiang Chen glanced at it and said, "Young master, there is a total of 300 billion immortal jades. 200 billion is used to maintain the normal operation of the bank." As he spoke, Wei Dashuan took out a stack of notes from his storage ring. When they were piled up, they were even taller than him. "There is 100 billion here. I have already divided it into 20 million each. If young master needs it, it will be more convenient." Wei Dashuan pointed at the notes and said, "Young master, if it's not enough, please tell me. I can send it over at any time." "It's enough, it's enough." Jiang Chen's expression was calm, but his heart was already blooming with joy. 100 billion immortal jades. This was simply a huge meat pie that fell from the sky. "Young master, there is one more thing that I hope you can forgive." Seeing Jiang Chen take all of the notes in one go, Wei Dashuan said with an embarrassed smile, "Don't worry." After receiving such a large sum of money, Jiang Chen's mood was naturally very good. Thus, he waved his hand and said, "If you have something to say, just say it. I hope young master can be magnanimous and let Wei Qing come back." Little Xiao must be living a good life in Eternal River City. Wei Qing must have suffered some kind of torture in the spirit beast race. I'm worried that he might die there. Wei Dason knelt on one knee and said in a deep voice, "Man or head, Wei, are you treating my words as farts?" Jiang Chen frowned slightly. "Young master, what do you mean?" Wei Dashuan raised his head. "It's impossible for Wei Qing to come out of the bathed in fire Phoenix clan. He sold the old man's corpse. Letting him live is already giving you face. I hope this is the last time I hear such words. Otherwise, I can get someone from the Ganges Bank to replace you at any time. Do you understand?" Jiang Chen took a deep breath and looked at him. "Ununderstood, young master." Jiang Chen's words made him give up on this idea completely. Wei Dashuan stood up and bowed towards Jiang Chen for a couple of times. Only then did he leave the hall with his tail between his legs. After sitting for a while, Jiang Chen met Bai Xiaoyan and divided the 100 billion immortal jades into two portions. One portion was for the 10,000 mounts immortal sex consumption, while the other portion was for Bai Xiaoyan to provide for the daily expenses of the Tianji Pavilion. Faced with such a huge amount of immortal jades, Bai Xiaoyan repeatedly refused. However, she couldn't resist Jiang Chen's determination and could only accept it. Another 2 or 3 days passed. The people of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy and the two banks left one after another. Except for those 10 people, most of the other injured disciples had recovered. No one was affected by the deep forest. They were still busy comprehending immortal arts and techniques every day. Occasionally, they would exchange pointers with their fellow disciples. However, no one mentioned the overseas immortal graveyard again for fear of provoking Jiang Chen's disgust and causing trouble. Jiang Chen was also planning how to deal with the Black Sect ceremony in 2 months. He also arranged for the disciples to guard around the immortal gate to prevent the black-clothed man from appearing again. TSK, this sect is quite imposing. When the sun was high in the sky, 2 figures appeared at the entrance of the immortal gate. Yunxi looked at the Wanqing immortal gate and smiled. Brother Jiang Chen is too high profile. Back then, his father, the Wanqing immortal lord, and his sect were jointly attacked by the 3 immortal kings. Now he is brazenly establishing a new sect. Once the 3 immortal kings join forces, I'm afraid even our Yunxi sect won't be able to protect him. Yun Wei, who was behind her, was a little worried and couldn't help but say, "It won't happen." Yunxi shook her head gently. Bai Xianling was now Jiang Chen's master. No matter how much resentment they had, she wouldn't attack her own disciple. Moreover, Bai Xianling had now passed the position of the pavilion leader of the Tianji Pavilion to Jiang Chen. This was a disguised form of recognition. Oh, how did the sect leader confirm? Yun Wei didn't know Bai Xuanling's identity. After thinking for a while, he found the answer. Could it be that the previous pavilion leader of the Tianji Pavilion was so powerful that even the 3 immortal kings didn't dare to provoke him? Don't worry about this. Let's go in and meet Jiang Chen first. Yunxi couldn't help but want to meet Bai Xianling. The sect is so peaceful. I really don't know why he called us here in such a hurry. Yun Wei followed behind Yunxi and walked into the sect. He didn't know why they were here. He was just following them as a guard. "Both of you, please stop." Seeing that someone had barged in, the disciple hurriedly activated his immortal force and was ready to attack. "Don't be so agitated. We are not bad people." Yun Wei hurriedly stepped forward and waved his hand, saying, "Please go and inform young Master Jiang Chen that the sect leaders of the West region and Yunxi sect have arrived." Yunxi sect? Seeing that the 2 people in front of him didn't have any hostility, the disciple was ready to go in and inform them. "Invite them into the main hall." Jiang Chen's voice slowly floated out. "Both of you, please." Hearing Jiang Chen's words, the disciple hurriedly bowed and stretched out his hand to welcome Yunxi and Yun Wei. "Okay." Yunxi smiled with satisfaction and walked into the sect with light steps. When the disciples who were training saw such a figure enter, they were all stunned. It wasn't that they hadn't seen beautiful women before. It was just that compared to Bai Fengyu's pure vitality, compared to Elder Huafu's hot sex appeal, the woman in front of them was so gentle. As she walked in from the door, it was as if a gentle wind that refreshed the heart and refresh the mind had hit them, making them feel warm. All the fatigue and negative emotions in their bodies were swept away. By the time they came back to their senses, Yunshi had already disappeared in front of them. Sect leader Yunshi, mountain leader Yunwei. Seeing the two people who came in, Jiangchen cupped his hands and greeted them. Yunwei, go take a walk in the immortal sect. It's our first time here, so we have to understand this place. Before entering the main hall, Yunshi whispered to the people behind her. Huh? Yunwei didn't react. Just go when I tell you to go. Why are you asking? Yunshi frowned slightly. Yes, sect leader. Even though Yunwei felt strange, he didn't dare to disobey Yunshi's orders. He could only turn around and walk down the stone steps. It wasn't until Yunshi came in and sat down that Jiangchen respectfully sat opposite her. Chapter 1903. Sect Master Yunshi. Jiangchen bowed slightly and said with a smile, "Where is your master?" Yunshi asked directly. She did not sense by Xuanling's aura when she came, but she had been cooped up in the sect for so many years. Even if she could not see her, it would be good to come out and have a look. She is in seclusion in the Tianji Pavilion. She just came back a few days ago. Jiangchen said honestly. Ask her to come out? Yunshi was about to speak, but she suddenly closed her mouth and sensed carefully. Why is there such a strong residual celestial force in the west of the 10,000 creations immortal sect? Did Bai Xianling cause trouble there? Jiangchen did not expect Yunshi to sense it before he said anything. But thinking about it, since Bai Xianling liked her, she must be outstanding in addition to her looks. Her cultivation must not be too bad. Tell me the truth. You call me here today, not only because Bai Xianling is back, right? Yunshi saw the change in Jiangchen's expression and laughed after a while. Sect Master Yunshi is really smart. I can't hide it from you. Jiangchen sighed. He had to tell her the truth. But it's true that my master came back. I just wanted to ask Sect Leader Yunshi about other things. Then let's talk about business first. Sensing something wrong with the residual celestial force, Yunshi lifted her white veil. The door of the main hall was slammed shut. Sect Master Yunshi, please tell me the situation of the sects in the west, except for the poison sect where the talisman is. The moment the door was closed, Jiangchen stood up and said in a deep voice, Why did you suddenly say that? Seeing Jiangchen so serious, Yunshi realized that things were indeed as she thought. There was something wrong. A few days ago, a sect in the west suddenly came to visit. They entered the mountains in the west of the 10,000 creations immortal sect and attacked my disciples who were there for training. Hundreds of people were killed, and nearly 200 were injured. Even senior brother Bai Xiaoyan was seriously injured. Fortunately, my master came back in time and drove them away. Jiangchen spoke the truth without holding anything back. That's not right. As far as I know, there are at least 10 immortal kings in your Heaven's Secret Pavilion. How could there be such heavy casualties? Yunshi was a little surprised. The person who fought with eldest senior brother and I is at least at the 5th level of the Immortal King realm. He brought 5 Immortal King realm puppets and 10 Immortal Lord realm puppets with him. At the thought of what had happened that day, Jiangchen let out a deep breath. What? Yunshi was stunned. Even she, the sect master of the Yunshi sect, did not know about the situation that Jiangchen had described. I suspect that it might be the doing of some sect in the west, so I want to ask Sect Master Yunshi about it and see what kind of background they have. Jiangchen smiled bitterly. I don't know much about these sections. In the past 10,000 years in the western region, a total of 8 sects have appeared, including the Poison Palm sect. Everyone knows about 4 of them. As for the other 4, even I have only heard of their names, but I have never seen their people. Yunshi held her forehead and said after thinking carefully, How strong are they? Hearing that there was something that he did not know, Jiangchen looked at it seriously. The strength of those 3 sects should be about the same as the Poison Palm sect. As for the remaining 4, I have not come into contact with them. I am not even sure if they exist in the western region. But if you say so, it should be because they have hidden so well that even our Yunshi sect has not discovered them. Seeing Jiangchen's expression, Yunshi felt a little distressed. Well, thank you, Sect Master Yunshi. Jiangchen knew that Sect Master Yunshi would not hide anything from him. If she did not say anything, it meant that she really did not know. I'm very surprised by what you said. These sects have always been in the western region and did not have any conflicts with any forces. They only occasionally did some unconscionable things, but now it seems that they have dared to extend their hands into the northern region. Yunshi remembered Jiang Qin's words in her mind. She had to go back and ask Great Elder Yunji. There was probably no one in the entire western region who knew more about this than the Great Elder. I have no more questions. Please wait a moment, Sect Master Yunshi. I will go and call Master. Jiang Chun frowned, got up, and walked toward the door of the main hall. Looking at Jiang Chen's lonely back, Yunshi could not bear to see him leave, so she called out, "Wait, Jiang Chun. I will remember what you said. I will ask the Great Elder when we get to the Yunshi sect. Maybe he will know more about this situation." "Thank you, Sect Master Yunshi," Jiang Chen replied softly. Jiang Chen hurried from the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect to the Tianji Pavilion. He went to the back of the sect and saw the secret chamber that he had used for his seclusion. Jiang Chun raised his fist, and after circulating his celestial force, he punched the door. Crack! The entire secret chamber shook violently, and many disciples came over to see what was going on. Damn it, who was disturbing my seclusion? After a while, the stone door opened, and Bai Xinling came out angrily cursing. However, when she saw that it was Jiang Chun who was standing in front of her, she suddenly lost her temper. "Didn't I tell you not to disturb me unless there is something wrong? If I go crazy, can you bear the consequences?" "No," Jiang Chun said. "Go back and deal with your 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. I'm going to continue my seclusion to break through to the Emperor realm." Bai Xinling waved her hand, turned around, and was about to enter the stone room. When she came back from the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, she deliberately left a mark of celestial force. Once she was in danger, she could sense it instantly. However, the mark of celestial force did not show any abnormality. Therefore, she was sure that Jiang Chun was here to cause trouble. "Someone is in the Immortal Sect and wants to see you." Jiang Chun grabbed her clothes. "Who is it?" Bai Xinling asked impatiently. When he came back a few days ago, he saw that the zither string that he had placed at the back of the mountain was broken. In the entire secret pavilion, only Jiang Chun could do such a thing. If it weren't for that woman, he would have kicked Jiang Chun out of the school with a punch. "Yunshi's sect master, Yunshi." Jiang Chun took a deep breath and said, "I was almost fooled by you. I thought you were so infatuated with my mother, but it turns out that you were a scumbag who goes around with women." "Cough, cough, don't talk nonsense." Bai Xinling froze and coughed. "You can set your mind at ease. Grand Elder Yunji isn't here. It's Sect Master Yunshi and Mountain Master Yunwei who came here." Jiang Chen hurried to comfort Bai Xinling when he saw fear flashing in her eyes. "You know about it?" Bai Xinling looked at Jiang Chen in shock. Chapter 1904. I heard that a certain immortal king was chased out of Yunshi's sect by Great Elder Yunji with a broom. Jiang Chun touched his nose as he recalled the scene. "Lad, if you dare to say anything, I will chase you out of Tianji Pavilion immediately." Bai Xinling stared at Jiang Chun fiercely. "I won't say anything. If I say anything, I will be disgraced as well." Jiang Chun shook his head. The white robe, immortal king's reputation was ruined by a woman. Since she came all the way to 10,000 Creations Immortal Sect, we should go and have a look. Seeing that there were many disciples around, Bai Xinling coughed and pretended to be calm. "Let's go, little Chen. Bring me there." Jiang Chun did not say anything else. After all, he still had to maintain his master's glorious image in front of his senior brothers and sisters. Bai Xinling knew Grand Elder Yunji would not come with them, so she disappeared from the intelligence pavilion as soon as she finished talking to Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun hurried to manipulate the immortal power in his body to follow her. A few minutes later, the two of them appeared at the entrance. "Lad, you are quite capable. You have almost found out everything about my private life." Bai Xinling tidied her robe and snorted at Jiang Chun. "Could it be that other than Sect Master Yunshi, you have a romantic past with other women?" Jiang Chen's gossipy heart was ignited. He originally thought that the white-robe immortal king was a decent person. Now it seemed that all crows in the world were equally black. It was a wise choice for his mother to choose his father over him. However, when he thought about it, his father seemed to be better than Bai Xianling. Bai Xianling walked into the main hall excitedly. When she saw the woman sitting inside, she could not help but go forward. Ahem. Jiangchen coughed twice. That? Yinshi, why are you here suddenly? Bai Xianling stopped in time and pretended to be reserved as she sat at the side and asked, Didn't I tell you that I will go to Yunshi's sect to visit you when I have time? Did you come in openly, or did you sneak in? Thinking that Jiangchen wasn't an outsider, Yunshi naturally teased him. That's obviously. Bai Xianling felt embarrassed, and she turned her head to look at Jiangchen. She said with her eyes, Jiangchen, I have something to discuss with Sect Master Yunshi. You should leave us alone. This matter is related to our two sect secrets, and you mustn't divulge it to anyone else. All right. Master has just come out of seclusion, so he must be very tired. I've already prepared the guest room. It's the first room at the corner of the main hall. After Jiangchen said this, he turned around and walked out. Bai Xianling was touched and secretly gave Jiangchen a thumbs up. To be able to receive such a considerate disciple was truly a great blessing in life. Walking out of the palace with his hands behind his back, Jiangchen only hoped that Sect Master Yunshi would ask Grand Elder Yunji more about the situation on account of the fact that he allowed her to meet Bai Xianling. Although he couldn't fight against the black-robed man with his current strength, it would be beneficial for him to know more about him. Brother Jiangchen, the Qina sect in the East region, is here. Just as Jiangchen was about to check on the severely injured disciples, Jiang Yuan rushed in from the main door. Behind him, there was a young man in the robe of the Qina sect. Oh! Jiangchen looked at him. Brother Jiangchen, Grand Elder asked me to tell you that in the East region near the outer region, where the Corpse Cliff sect used to be, there have been strange people there for the past few days. They seem to have set up an enchantment. The disciple stepped forward and said breathlessly, It seems to be the same news. Hearing his words, Jiangchen roughly understood. Yes. Jiang Yuan nodded. Take him to rest, eat, and drink. Later, send 2 disciples with good cultivation to send him back to the Qina sect. Also, send my regards to Grand Elder Su Qian. Jiangchen took out a promissory note worth 3,000 celestial jades from his storage ring and handed it to him. Thank you, Brother Jiangchen. The disciple held the promissory note and quickly stuffed it into his robe. Seeing Jiang Yuan take him away, Jiangchen didn't think much about it. With his current strength, the sect master of the Black Sect shouldn't be able to do much. Moreover, the sect master clearly didn't want to kill him and still needed him as a bargaining chip. However, with this opportunity, he might be able to find out the relationship between the sect master of the Black Sect and the Black-Robed Man. While Jiangchen was lost in thought, Yunwei walked over from not far away and took a look at the palace. He is the previous pavilion master of the Divine Secret Pavilion. Your master? Yunwei had been watching from a distance. Yes, Jiangchen said honestly. He seems to be very strong. I've seen him once or twice, but he was chased out by the Grand Elder. Now that you are here, I think the Grand Elder shouldn't be too against it. Yunwei's expression was indifferent. He knew that it was impossible for him and that he was not worthy of Sect Master Yunshi. In terms of strength, he is indeed very strong. Jiangchen didn't know how to describe Bai Xianling. He didn't know if Yunshi's sect knew that he was the legendary White Robe Celestial King. How many times have you fought with those sects? Jiangchen sat on the steps. Thinking of Yunwei catching Ming Yishua in Yunshi City, he asked directly. Yunshi was the sect master, so she might not know the situation. However, Yunwei was the captain of the guards, so logically speaking, he should know more. 4 sections. It was all because the disciples of these sects entered Yunshi City without permission and were caught by me. However, I didn't do anything to them. I just asked them why they entered the city and put them on alert before throwing them out of the city. Yunwei replied, I heard from Sect Master Yunshi that there are more than 4 sects in the western region, but they have never shown themselves. Jiangchen continued. That's indeed the case. I've never fought with anyone from those sects, and it's as if they don't exist at all. It's said that they're located at the edge of the western regions. There's an endless desert there, and it's a dark region that doesn't see the sun all day long. Yunwei nodded. It seems that it is not that easy to deal with them. Jiang Chen scratched his head. It's best to dismiss this news. The strength of these four sects is very strong. Although you have many experts behind you, in those places in the western region, you're not a match for them. At least in the past tens of thousands of years, no one has ever come back alive from there. These four sects are many times stronger than the Hell Poison sect and the others. Hearing Jiang Chen's thoughts, Yunwei quickly advised him, fearing that Jiang Chen would do something wrong on impulse. Just like in Ming Poison's sect some time ago, if it were not for the Great Elder's acquiescence and the sect master's agreement, he might have died there. Chapter 1905. I know. Jiang Chen had witnessed their strength in the forest. Of course, he wouldn't act rashly. However, with Bai Xianling and Guhu behind him, Jiang Chen was not really afraid. Xiao Chun. A voice came from behind him. Jiang Chen stood up and saw Bai Xianling walking out. With Yunwei around, Jiang Chen did not call him Old Bai. Instead, he called him politely. Master, what's the matter? Is this the sect master of Third Mountain, Yunwei of Yunchi sect? Bai Xianling asked as he walked down the stairs and looked at Yunwei, who was standing beside Jiang Chen. White Immortal King. Yunwei bowed slightly at him. Oh, you know my name? Bai Xianling smiled. No, but everyone in the sect calls you that, so I followed suit. Yunwei shook his head and looked up at Bai Xianling. I heard from Yunchi that thanks to your protection, the Yunchi sect and Yunchi city are safe and sound now. You are an indispensable person in the whole sect. Bai Xianling nodded, patted him on the shoulder, and praised him. White Immortal King, you must be joking. I'm just an ordinary mountain lord. Since sect master Yunchi trusts me, I naturally have to fulfill my responsibilities. Otherwise, wouldn't I disappoint sect master? Yunwei took a step back. Little Chenzi, come with me. I have something to tell you. Bai Xianling waved her hand at Jiang Chen. What's the matter, old Bai? Jiang Chen asked. I just asked Yunchi about the situation in the West region. Bai Xianling said in a low voice. I felt that the person who attacked you a few days ago was from the West region. After I am done with my seclusion, I will go and check it out for you. Really? When will you be done with your seclusion? Jiang Chen was a little excited. This person killed disciples of the Immortal Sect and severely injured Bai Xiaoyan. In Jiang Chen's heart, he had long classified this person as a deep-sea blood feud. If it weren't for the fact that his current strength was insufficient, Jiang Chen would have long rushed to the western regions and torn him into pieces. It's hard to say. Maybe 2 or 3 days, or maybe 2 or 3 years. Bai Xianling shook her head. I've been stuck at the half-step martial emperor realm for too long. Maybe the time has not come yet. Maybe it's impossible in this lifetime. Then what did you say? Jiang Chen was speechless. If he really waited, who knew how long he would have to wait? That's why I told you to wait and see. Bai Xianling sighed and said, but don't worry, no matter what danger you encounter, I will be there in time. This is what I promised you, and I can still do it. Thank you, old Bai. Jiang Chen said sincerely. It's nothing, as long as you remember my kindness. When the time comes, our lives will depend on you. Bai Xianling waved her hand and said, I will remember. Jiang Chen knew that Bai Xianling would not tell him, so he did not continue to ask. Well, there's one more thing that I need your help with. Bai Xuanling's face suddenly turned red, and she said in an even lower voice, I want to spend some alone time with Sect Master Yunchi. Can you bring all the senior and junior brothers in the pavilion to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect and give us some private space? No. Jiang Chen shook his head firmly. Oh, right. Old Bai. Is senior sister Xiaolan the daughter of sect leader Yunchi? Jiang Chen suddenly glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. This, I can't tell you for now. Bai Xianling pretended to be thoughtful. Just treat it as doing me a favor. If it's useful in the future, I will definitely promise you. You can tell her yourself. I'm not going to embarrass myself. Jiang Chen turned around. Does this person still look like one of the 3 immortal kings? All right, then forget it. Bai Xianling placed her hands on her waist, apparently a little angry. Jiang Chen looked at her. feeling a little helpless and amused. Why is this immortal king in white acting like a child throwing a tantrum? Old Bai, are you angry? What do you think? Bai Xianling snorted. This is for you. Jiang Chen took out a scroll from his storage ring and handed it to her. What kind of immortal arts can I get? Bai Xianling took a look and did not pay much attention to it. These are the King's Slaying Formation and the Soul-Slaying Spirit Subduing Formation of an ancient immortal king. Since you don't like them, forget it. Jiang Chun raised his brows. After he spoke, he was about to take back the scroll. Slap. Bai Xianling reacted quickly. A white light flashed, and Jiang Chen's hand was empty. The two books of immortal arrays had fallen into his hands. You are indeed worthy of being my good disciple. Bai Xianling flipped through the books and saw that they were indeed immortal arrays. A smile appeared on her face. She patted Jiang Chen's back and exclaimed, having a disciple like you, I really don't know how many lifetimes of fortune I've accumulated. Learning is one thing, but you can't use it in front of an ancient immortal king. Otherwise, we won't be able to get immortal arrays in the future. Seeing that Bai Xianling was getting carried away, Jiang Chen reminded her. Master will take note of such a small problem. Bai Xianling kept the books and looked at Jiang Chen again. Well, I heard that you went to the Jade Sword sect some time ago. Did you steal that old bastard Xuanjuan's myriad sword mastery? Jiang Chen rolled his eyes. Stop pretending. Have you forgotten who taught you the deduction of 10 directions? Didn't you say that you can't use the deduction of 10 directions to predict my future? Of course, but it's still very easy to calculate what you have done and what you have gained. F***CK. Jiang Chen could not argue with Bai Xianling and had to tell the truth. That's right. I did get the myriad sword mastery, but there are no scrolls for me to read. I just got it by luck. This is too much. Bai Xianling let out a heavy sigh. Compared to Gu Hua's immortal arrays, he was more interested in Xuanjuan's swordsmanship. The reason was that most of the disciples of the Divine Secret Pavilion were interested in swordsmanship. Since he was not talented in swordsmanship, he could only take some from Xianjun. In the end, almost half of Xuanjuan's swordsmanship fell into the hands of the Divine Secret Pavilion. And Xianjun did not know about this at all. Maybe when my cultivation level increases, I will have my own understanding. By then, I can record it in the scrolls. Seeing that Bai Xianling was so disappointed, Jiang Chen could only comfort her. That's right. When you teach the mastery of 10,000 swords to me and my brothers in the sect, I won't blame you for breaking my zither. Bai Xianling nodded her head in satisfaction. While the two were talking, Yunwei was watching them from the side. When he saw that Jiang Chen and Bai Xianling were sometimes happy and sometimes sad, sometimes serious and sometimes relaxed, he kept wondering what they were talking about that caused such a big change in their emotions. Chapter 1906. After some discussion, Jiang Chen and Bai Xianling came to an agreement. Jiang Chen wanted to record the myriad sword mastery in a scroll when he fully comprehended it, so that the senior and junior brothers of Tianji Pavilion could study it. When Bai Xianling had time, she wanted to go to the western region to investigate the situation of the four sects for Jiang Chen. However, only the two of them could hear these words. As for Yin Wei, he was still looking at them with a blank face. No matter how hard he tried, he could not understand what Jiang Chen and Bai Xianling were talking about. What about sect master Yinshi? Jiang Chen asked when he saw that Bai Xianling was about to leave. I told her that I'll personally make a trip to the Yunshi sect after my closed-door cultivation ends and meet with their grand elder. I, the white-robed immortal king, can't be chased out successively, right? Bai Xianling said proudly with her hands on her waist. Didn't you say that you want to spend some time with her? Jiang Chen gave her a sideways glance. What time? I was just teasing you. Bai Xianling chuckled and said, now that you've encountered such a problem, and I've vaguely touched upon the opportunity to reach the Emperor realm, if I'm lucky enough to break through, I'll become the #1 person in the immortal world. When that time comes, the rules of the immortal realm will not be able to restrain me. The four sects in the western region, the black sect in the outer region, I can make them disappear completely with a snap of my finger. Bai Xuanling's voice was filled with pride when she said this. Can you do it? Jiang Chen even had an impulse to break through to the sovereign realm right away when he heard such heroic words. However, he knew that after Black Sky Emperor and Emperor Qinji, there would not be another immortal emperor in the immortal realm. That will depend on fate. Bai Xinling took a deep breath and said, "When you break through to the emperor realm, I will be able to benefit from it." Jiang Chen chuckled. With an immortal emperor as his backing, no one would dare to offend him. Well, I hope there will be a chance. Take good care of Yun Shi. Bai Xinling looked at Jiang Chen meaningfully and said, "I remember that there are a few mountain lords in the Yunshi sect who are quite good-looking. You should find a chance to develop them." F***CK. Jiang Chen couldn't help but curse. There were indeed a few sect masters in the Yunshi sect who were quite good-looking. However, the women around him were enough to give him a headache. If there were 2 more women, he would only have to deal with the matters between the women. He would not have to care about anything else. Seize the opportunity yourself. Goodbye. Bai Xinling winked at Jiang Chen before she turned around and left. You really don't know how to be serious. Jiang Chen sighed helplessly and said. After sending off Bai Xinling, Jiang Chen immediately returned to the main hall. This time, he brought Yin Lianwei along with him. Sect Master Yunshi, I don't know if you still remember the agreement between us. Jiang Chen walked in with his hands behind his back and a smile on his face. Yunshi raised her eyebrows and asked, "Oh, what agreement?" "I will bring you to see my master. You will teach me the 100-blossom sword technique." Jiang Chen sat opposite her. Compared to Xian Jun's magic, Jiang Chen was more interested in Yunshi's. "I knew you would say that. Yunwei, give it to him." Yunshi chuckled and nodded at Yunwei. Yunwei held the storage ring on his finger and said awkwardly, "Sect Master, Brother Jiang Chen and I have a good relationship. He is also a guest of the Yunshi sect. However, the 100-blossom sword technique is the top sword technique of the Yunshi sect. Since the establishment of the sect, we have never taught outsiders." "Give it to him. Jiang Chen is not an outsider. According to the rules, he should call me Master's wife." Yunshi looked at Jiang Chen and said, "All right, Brother Jiang Chen, take it." Yunwei stood up and took out the scroll of the 100-blossom sword technique from the storage ring. He placed it on the table next to Jiang Chen and reminded him, "I have given you the sword technique. However, please remember that this is the top magic of the Yunshi sect. It is not a secret magic. You can comprehend it by yourself. You must not teach it to others." What Yunwei said is right. Once you spread the news to others, the great elder alone will teach you a lesson. Yunshi nodded and said, "Don't worry, I will not do that kind of thing. Moreover, with my talent, it will be difficult for me to comprehend it." Jiang Chen chuckled and put the scroll into the storage ring. "Your talent is bad? If your talent is bad, I am afraid that there will be no talented people in the immortal world." Yunwei stared and then shook his head. "Your body has the 5 regular elements, plus the 4 special elements of light, darkness, thunder, and ice. Apart from those extremely rare elements, you can be considered to have all the elements, right?" Yunshi looked at Jiang Chen with a gentle gaze. Her expression seemed to have seen through Jiang Chen completely. Ah! This time, it was Jiang Chen's turn to be surprised. How did you know?" Jiang Chen remembered that he seemed to have only revealed a few of them when he fought with Ma Fu. Apart from the people closest to him, no one else knew exactly how many elements he had in his body. "Haha, this is a special ability of the Yunshi sect. You may be able to hide it in front of others, but in our eyes, it will be completely exposed," Yunwei explained with a smile. "So that's how it is?" Jiang Chen shuddered subconsciously. Such a strange ability made Jiang Chen feel as if he was standing naked in front of them. "Well, I will give you the 100-blossom brilliance. Remember, don't teach it to others, not even the disciples of the 10,000 creations immortal sect. With your talent, I am sure that you will be able to understand the essence of it. Maybe after some time, the power you use will be stronger than mine." Upon witnessing Jiang Chen's dumbstruck look, Yunshi felt like she had seen Bai Xuanling's bashful look when she had first met her. But time flew by. The young man from back then had become like this. "Thank you, Sect Master Yunshi and Mountain Master Yunwei." Jiang Chen cupped his hands at them. "If there is nothing else, we will go back. I will keep an eye out for what you said. If there is any news, I will send a disciple to inform you. Yunshi got up and said, You two have just arrived. Why don't you stay in our sect for a while? I will show you around the northern region. Seeing that they were leaving after less than 4 hours, Jiang Chun quickly stopped them. Do you have time? Take care of the things in your hands first. We will have a lot of time in the future. Yunshi smiled and shook her head slowly, rejecting Jiang Chen's kindness. Chapter 1907. Jiang Chen watched them leave. After they left, Jiang Chun returned to his room and took out the 100 Blossoms sword technique to read. He had seen both Xian Jun and Yun Shi's sword techniques. Xian Jun's sword technique was a little more gaudy and sharp, as if he wanted to poke a hole in heaven and earth when he used it. Yun Shi's 100 Blossoms sword technique, on the other hand, instantly erupted with the fiercest immortal power. When she had attacked Yu Yishua at the third mountain, even Jiang Chun hadn't been able to clearly see Yun Shi's move. He had only seen a faint cold light cut through the night sky. If Yu Yishua had begged for mercy a moment later, he would probably have died. It's indeed a top-notch sword technique. Jiang Chun couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the mental cultivation method and moves recorded on the scroll. If he had received such a move, he probably wouldn't even have had the chance to react and would have been killed. After informing Zhang Yuan and asking him to deal with the recent affairs of the immortal sect, Jiang Chun went into seclusion. Time flew by. 2 months passed quietly. Jiang Chun remained sitting on the ground, motionless, with the 100 Blossoms sword technique scroll floating in front of him. It's almost time. Zhang Yuan stood at the door and said, Let him go into seclusion. Seeing that Zhang Yuan was about to open the door, Bai Xiaoyan hurriedly stopped him and said, I'll take you guys to find out the situation. All right. Zhang Yuan nodded in agreement. I'm out of seclusion. Just as the two of them were about to leave, Jiang Chun pushed open the door of the room and said with a smile, Kid, you've been in seclusion for 2 hours. We all thought you had forgotten about the matter of the Black Sect. Bai Xiaoyan reached out and punched Jiang Chun in the chest as she said, Of course not. I've been counting the time, Jiang Chun said with a smile. Yesterday, the China sect just sent news that the people they planted in the vicinity saw many black-robed men gathering there. Zhang Yuan reported with a serious expression. Let's go and take a look at the situation. Jiang Chun smiled. Okay, I'll go back to the pavilion to gather the disciples. Brother Zhang Yuan, go to the China sect and ask Miss Wufu to inform the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. With our strength, even if the leader of the Black Sect comes in person, he will have to think twice. Bai Xiaoyan said immediately. That won't be necessary. Jiang Chun shook his head before Jiang Yuan could leave. What do you mean? Bai Xiaoyan looked at Jiang Chun. Just the 3 of us? While Jiang Chun was in seclusion, he had also thought about this matter. He looked at Bai Xiaoyan and Jiang Yuan and said, The Kunlun Immortal Mountain is an immortal sect of the Northern Domain. If they come to the Eastern Domain with great fanfare, it will inevitably become a topic of ridicule. As for the China sect, they do not belong to the Heavenly Secret Pavilion or the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. It is good enough that they can help us investigate this matter. How can we trouble them? You mean, just the 3 of us? Bai Xiaoyan pointed at herself and asked in disbelief. Little junior brother, don't forget that I haven't fully recovered from my injuries yet. I can't exert all my strength at all. Yes, it's too risky for the 3 of us, Zhang Yuan also advised from the side. What I mean is that the 3 of us will go and investigate. It won't be too late to send someone to take action after we find out what's going on, Jiang Chun explained with a smile. I see. Bai Xiaoyan suddenly understood. She could understand what Jiang Chun meant. If there were only the 3 of them, they would be at the mercy of others. Let's go, eldest senior brother. Jiang Chun patted their shoulders and walked outside. When he walked out of the main hall, he happened to bump into Lin Xiao, who was coming in. During the period when Jiang Chun was in seclusion, his injuries had also recovered well. Young master, you're out of seclusion, Lin Xiao said in a deep voice when he saw Jiang Chun. Yes, we have to go out for a while. Take care of the immortal sect while we're away. If there's any situation, communicate with Elder Huafu and Guardian Long immediately. Jiang Chun nodded and said, Don't worry, young master. nothing will happen to the immortal sect. Lin Xiao patted his chest and answered firmly. After the three of them left the immortal sect, they turned into streams of light and disappeared into the horizon. East region. The three of them arrived at the immortal sect with ease. In the vicinity of the corpse cliff, there were indeed a few black-clothed men scattered around. Moreover, they could vaguely feel the fluctuations of the seal from there. Don't act rashly, Bai Xiaoyan hurriedly reminded Jiang Chun when she saw that he was looking over there. Okay. Jiang Chun took a deep breath and replied. The three of them were only a few hundred meters away from the group of men in black. After completely concealing their aura and figures, they were not discovered by anyone. Jiang Chun glanced around and did not see the sect master of the black sect. Among them, the one who seemed to have a higher status was a young man in his 20s. His appearance was quite delicate, but his eyes were as dark as ink. The son of the sect master of the black sect? Jiang Chun rubbed his chin and guessed. What are they doing? Bai Xiaoyan stared at Jiang Chun, guarding against Jiang Chun who would act rashly at any time. On the other hand, she was also observing the situation in the distance. When she saw that the group of people were using some kind of secret technique, her mind was also in a mess. Wait here, I'll go to the front and take a look. Vaguely watching their actions, Jiang Chun got up and moved forward bit by bit. Be careful. Bai Xiaoyan frowned and reminded him in a low voice. His cultivation was not as good as before, and he could only exert 2/3 of his strength. If he really fought with a group of people from the black sect, he could not protect Jiang Chun in his current situation. Got it? Jiang Chun replied faintly. After moving forward for 100 meters, he could see more clearly. Jiang Chun was surprised to find that it did not seem to be a ceremony. This group of people was gathering on the boundary between the eastern domain and the outer domain and repairing it. Jiang Chun knew that when Emperor Qianji was alive, he would repair the boundary every once in a while to prevent people from the outer domain sect from easily stepping into the eastern domain. But after the death of Emperor Qianji, the boundary loosened, which allowed people like the sect master of the black sect to enter and leave easily. Logically speaking, the black sect should have directly broken the seal. How could they strengthen the boundary? Jiang Chun was confused. After thinking about it again and again, he could not find a suitable reason. Senior brother, their strength is not very good. Let's end this quickly and bring them back to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Maybe we can get valuable information from these people. Seeing Bai Xiaoyan and Zhang Yuan following together, Jiang Chun frowned and said, Aren't you afraid that the sect master of the black sect is here? Bai Xiaoyan had already slowly circulated her immortal power. With master and an ancient immortal king, I'm not very afraid. Jiang Chun grinned. Why don't we think about it again? Or I can mobilize the brothers in the pavilion. With them, we have a better chance of winning. Bai Xiaoyan said. Chapter 1908. Then I'll go take a look at the situation first. Jiang Chun didn't want to wait. After he finished speaking, he urged the immortal power in his body to rush out. The place where they were hiding was still hundreds of meters away from the corpse cliff. But for Jiang Chun, this distance was almost reached in the blink of an eye. Who is it? The youth in black was instantly alert. He immediately looked back, worried that it was that person. But when he saw that the person rushing over was Jiang Chun, he was surprised and helpless. What surprised him was that Jiang Chun was able to know their actions. But he knew that in order to achieve his goal, he still needed to use Jiang Chun's soul as a bargaining chip to exchange for his father's body. This was the only way to complete the plan that he had prepared for tens of thousands of years. Sect Master, someone is approaching. Several men in black immediately protected the youth in black behind them and said, Don't panic. You can easily stop him. The youth in black pulled his hand and directly tore a hole in the enchantment barrier. He lifted his foot and walked in. Jiang Chun's speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived here. I'll use you guys to test my new sword technique. A 7-colored long sword appeared in Jiang Chun's hand. A cold light flashed and directly flashed toward them. Seeing Jiang Chun appear and make a move, Bai Xiaoyan immediately flashed forward. He knew that the black sect was incomparably sinister. The sect master's cultivation was even more unfathomable. It was impossible for Jiang Chun to succeed so easily. The long sword slashed across. A black fog immediately emerged in front of those men in black. Jiang Chen's sword directly pierced into it. Boy, the sect master is not willing to hurt you now because he still has other uses for your life. You must know what's good for you. As long as we want, we can destroy your physical body now and imprison your soul in the outer domain. In the black fog, several men in black said in unison, "Oh, why don't you let him kill me?" Jiang Chun sneered twice. Frost instantly surged on the seven-colored long sword. It was just a simple sword, and it directly cut the pervading black fog. Brat, the sect leader allowed you to enjoy yourself in the outside world. Do you still want to die? Seeing Jiang Chun walk out of the black fog, one of them pointed at Jiang Chun and scolded him in a stern voice. "Get out of here!" The sect leader of the black sect, right? Jiang Chun sneered as he looked at the fluctuating barrier in front of him. A bold idea suddenly sprouted in his mind. That was to charge in and see what was going on in the outer realm. Even if they were in danger, Bai Xianling and Gu Huo would rush over in an instant. If not, Zhou Kunlun would also intervene. Especially after the fight with the black-robed man in the deep forest. The doubts in Jiang Chen's mind never dissipated. The black-robed man was related to the Black Sky Emperor, and the Black Gate sect master was also related to the Black Sky Emperor, but these two people did not deal with each other. Who knows, he might be able to find news of his mother in the outer realm. He might also be able to find Hikari's whereabouts. If you dare to hurt him, even if you hide in the outer realm, you will die without a burial place. Bai Xianling rushed over and stood in front of Jiang Chun as she said coldly, "Is that so?" The inside of the enchantment shook. The black-robed man walked out again. "What is your relationship with the Black Gate sect leader?" Jiang Chun stared at him and asked. I'm the Black Gate sect leader." The black-robed man smiled and said, "Jiang Chun, oh Jiang Chun, you have always regarded me as your opponent. Now that I am standing in front of you, you don't even know me." Jiang Chun was a little surprised. In his impression, the Black Gate sect leader was an extremely sinister character. But the person in front of him was a very handsome young man. If it wasn't for the fact that his eyes were pitch black and looked very strange, Jiang Chun would not associate him with the ruthless Black Gate sect leader. Bai Xiaoyan took a deep breath. Her hands that were hidden in her sleeves secretly formed a very complicated seal. It was the top secret immortal art of the Divine Secret Pavilion. In the entire sect, except for her and Bai Xianling, no one was qualified to touch it. Not even Jiang Chun was qualified to touch it. Once the seal was activated, it could greatly increase one's cultivation for a short period of time. But when the effect of the immortal art was over, one would enter a weak state that lasted for 100 years. At that time, even an ordinary immortal could easily take his life. Bai Xiaoyan knew how dangerous it was, but she didn't have time to think so much. Although Jiang Chun was reckless, she still had to protect him with her life. "Where is Hikari?" Jiang Chun stared at her and asked. "Go through this barrier. With your speed, you can reach my sect in less than half an hour. Hikari lives in there. Do you want to go in and find her?" The Black Gate sect leader moved aside and revealed the crack of the barrier behind him. "Hand her over," Jiang Chun said in a deep voice. "Do you think your words have any weight in front of me?" The Black Gate sect leader sneered. "Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you have Su Qian and Bai Xianling behind you. You will become my bargaining chip." "Bargaining chip to resurrect Black Sky Emperor?" Jiang Chun also laughed. "Who is Black Sky Emperor?" The Black Gate sect leader spread out his hands. "Go back. Little junior brother, let's leave first." Bai Xiaoyan swallowed her saliva and said in a low voice. Jiang Chun frowned slightly. The reason why he rushed here was that he was sure that the Black Gate sect leader wouldn't do anything to him. If he left now, it would mean that all his efforts would be in vain. Cough! Suddenly, the Black Gate sect leader coughed violently, and a pool of scarlet blood spurted out from his mouth. The aura that was originally hidden by him was suddenly exposed uncontrollably. 8th level Immortal King, Jiang Chen's mouth twitched. This cultivation level was probably the top in the immortal world, except for the three immortal kings. However, after he spurted out this mouthful of blood, his aura rapidly weakened. In just a breath from the 8th level immortal king to the immortal monarch, his face that was still arrogant just now was now filled with a painful expression. Do it, aware of this situation. Although he didn't know why the Black Gate sect leader was injured and didn't know who could hurt him to this extent, Jiang Chen knew that now was the most suitable time. A huge array descended from the sky. It enveloped the Black Gate sect leader and several black-robed men. Jiang Chen put his hands together, and a biting cold wind swept through the enchantment. Then, with a flash of his palm, a golden spear with 9 different lights appeared in his hand. Crack! In the array, the Black Gate sect leader was chained in the middle. Jiang Chen's whole person merged with the spear light of the sky-splitting spear and directly targeted his chest, stabbing toward him. As long as he could seriously injure or even kill the Black Gate sect leader, he could rescue Ikari, and even those things that puzzled him might be solved. Chapter 1909. Even though my cultivation is weak now, you can't hurt me easily. Even though the sect master of the Black Sect was chained and trapped in the soul-slaying, spirit-suppressing array, his black robe fluttered slightly as he spoke, and he broke free. Jiang Chen's attack pierced into the ward, severely injure him, and throw him out. The sect master of the Black Sect panted heavily. It could be seen that even though he could dodge Jiang Chen's attack, he was severely injured and his cultivation was weakened. It was still a little difficult for him. He looked at Jiang Chen. If he wanted to kill them, he could send out the immortal masters in the Black Sect. In less than 15 minutes, the 3 people in front of him would be killed. Unfortunately, Jiang Chen was protected by an expert, and he still needed him as a bargaining chip. The sect master of the Black Sect knew that Jiang Chen dared to come here and attack him openly because he knew this. Yes, sect master. With the permission of the sect master of the Black Sect, several black-robed men suddenly burst out. They directly locked their auras on Jiang Chen, and black short sticks slipped out of their sleeves. Swoosh! Little junior brother, be careful. Bai Xiaoyan stepped forward. The immortal power in her body was emitted without any reservation. It formed an indestructible white barrier that blocked all of the people holding black sticks around Jiang Chen, who had shown up in a flash around him. Eldest senior brother, today is the best time to kill the sect master of the Black Sect. If we give up now, I'm afraid we won't have such a good opportunity in the future. Jiang Chen glanced around and said in a deep voice, You're right, but I'm afraid we can't do it with our strength. After Bai Xiaoyan finished speaking, a wisp of spiritual thought quickly swept out. In just a few breaths, the Heaven's Secret Pavilion got her order. More than a dozen celestial kings rushed out of the Black Sect and quickly approached the East region. In the secret chamber of the Black Sect, Bai Xinling leaned on the table and drank tea. TSK, this guy is really good at stirring up trouble. Sensing the situation in the East region, Bai Xinling couldn't help but laugh. While the dozen or so immortal kings of the Divination Pavilion were rushing towards the Eastern region, Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyan had already exchanged blows with the black-clothed men. When Zhang Yuan saw that the Black Sect's sect master was about to return to the barrier, he immediately leaped forward. Brother Zhang Yuan, let me do it! Jiang Chen forced the person in front of him back with a single sword strike. As he activated the myriad change heavenly lamp, he shot toward the crack in the barrier at an extremely fast speed. How stubborn! The leader of the Black Sect clutched his chest. Seeing that Jiang Chen was about to arrive in front of him, he gathered all the cultivation in his body and blasted out a palm strike. This palm landed squarely on Jiang Chen's body. Jiang Chen's figure stopped, staggered a few steps, and suddenly fell to the ground. Seeing this, Zhang Yuan hurriedly helped him up. White Immortal King, Jiang Chen is injured. Seeing that Bai Xiaoyan was still fighting with the black-clothed men, Zhang Yuan instilled his immortal power into Jiang Chen's body and shouted at Bai Xiaoyan at the same time. Bai Xiaoyan was shocked. She turned her head and saw that Jiang Chen was already lying on the ground. She instantly flew into a rage and prepared to fight with the black-clothed men in front of her. She raised the long sword in her hand high and gathered all the immortal power in her body. However, these black-clothed men didn't continue fighting. After seeing that the sect master had left, they immediately dissipated on the spot. Even their auras disappeared without a trace. Bai Xiaoyan heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly ran in front of Jiang Chun. "Should we chase?" Jiang Yuan asked as he looked at the barrier entrance. "No, the outer region is incomparably strange. With our strength, going in is no different from courting death." Bai Xiaoyan shook her head resolutely. Now Jiang Chun was already injured because of his recklessness. If she went in again, she was afraid that she would still end up in the same situation. Eldest senior brother. More than 10 figures rushed over from afar and stopped in front of them. "You're late." Bai Xiaoyan frowned. "Is junior brother injured?" Bai Xiaolan asked as she looked at Jiang Chun, who was lying in Jiang Yuan's arms. "Yes." Bai Xiaoyan nodded and said, "I don't know why he suddenly became so impulsive. He was clearly very calm before, but just now, he ignored my and Jiang Chen's dissuasion and took the initiative to fight with the Black Sect Master and ended up like this. That Black Sect Master is an immortal king. He dared to hurt junior brother. Isn't he afraid of violating the agreement?" Bai Xiaolan stepped forward and reached out to touch Jiang Chen's chest. She heaved a sigh of relief and said, "He's fine. He's just seriously injured." I don't know why the Black Sect Master was injured, but his cultivation dropped to the immortal monarch level. Jiang Chun wanted to seize this opportunity to kill him. He didn't expect that his cultivation would drop, but he was still much stronger than him. Jiang Yuan sighed and said, "How reckless. If he doesn't get rid of this bad habit, he'll suffer in the future." Bai Xiaolan glanced at Jiang Chun, whose eyes were tightly shut and couldn't help but complain. "So don't talk about him." Bai Xiaoyan carried Jiang Chun on her back and looked at the barrier that had already dissipated not far away. She said, "He's carrying the heavy burden of the 10,000 mounts immortal sect and Tianji sect." His disciple was also caught in the outer domain. It's inevitable that he would make thoughtless considerations. It's just that after this time, it won't be easy to find such an opportunity again. Jiang Yuan said. After the Black Sect Master and the others left, Bai Xiaoyan didn't plan to stay here any longer. 10,000 mounts, immortal sect. Jiang Chun was sent to his room. All the disciples of Tianji Pavilion had a tacit understanding to hide it from Bai Fengyu. They were afraid that she would be worried after knowing about Jiang Chen's situation. "All of you go back. During the time that Jiang Chun is unconscious, I have to take care of the immortal sect for him." In the main hall, Bai Xiaoyan looked at the group of junior brothers and sisters and said, "Senior brother, your injuries haven't fully recovered." Bai Xiaolan quickly said, "Why don't I stay here and you go back to recuperate? You don't understand the situation of the immortal sect." Bai Xiaoyan shook her head. "Listen to me and go back. I'm just staying here and won't fight with others. Taking care of the 10,000 mounts immortal sect won't affect my recovery." Seeing Bai Xiaoyan so determined, Bai Xiaolan and the rest didn't insist anymore. After sending everyone off, Bai Xiaoyan saw Hua Fu angrily walking in. Cough, cough, did you go see Jiang Chen? Seeing her like this, Bai Xiaoyan knew that she was here to denounce her. "I saw him." Hua Fu sat beside Bai Xiaoyan and said, "Why didn't you tell me why you want to fight with the Black Sect Master? How could Jiang Chun win against him?" He tried to stop him, but he couldn't. Originally, Jiang Chun only wanted to ask about Hikari's whereabouts. He didn't expect that the Black Sect Master would be seriously injured for some reason. He wanted to seize this opportunity to kill him, but unfortunately, this person's strength was still there. Jiang Chun was caught off guard and was hit by him. Bai Xiaoyan sighed. At that time, he was restrained by several black-robed men. Otherwise, he would definitely have stopped Jiang Chun. Chapter 1910. Then we can only wait for Jiang Chun to recover. Hua Fu was not very worried about Jiang Chen's condition. With Bai Xinling and the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, no matter what, his life would not be in danger. Yes, find some time to go to Kunlun Celestial Mountain and tell them that we have solved the situation in the East region. There's one more thing. You mustn't tell them that Jiang Chun is injured. Otherwise, those lords will be worried again. Bai Xiaoyan clutched his chest. After 2 to 3 months of recuperation, his injuries were almost healed, but when he was helping Jiang Chun, he forcefully used his immortal power, causing his injuries to relapse. You also hid it from Sister Fengyu? Fu asked. Yes. I only told her that Jiang Chun is in seclusion. I did not say anything about his injuries. Bai Xiaoyan nodded. Then I will go to Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Fu agreed and continued. By the way, there are many new disciples who want to join our immortal sect these days. Didn't Jiang Chun say that we will recruit again after 3 years? Bai Xiaoyan calmed down for a while before he felt more comfortable. That time in the deep mountains, we lost nearly 100 disciples, so we naturally have to replenish. I told Jiang Chun about it before, and he agreed. Fu explained, then let Dade handle it. I also have to rest for a few days. Otherwise, my injuries will not be able to recover completely. Bai Xiaoyan struggled to stand up, and after giving his instructions, he walked out of the main hall. Although he did not fully use the strength that he forcefully raised, he also tore a little of the seal when he faced several immortal monarchs of the Black Sect. Now, not only was his injuries serious, but his whole body was also extremely weak. The reason why he was holding on was because he did not want his junior brothers and sisters of the Divine Mystery Pavilion to worry. White Immortal King, rest well. I will go to Kunlun Celestial Mountain now. Fu nodded and turned into a red stream of light, disappearing from the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. Bai Xiaoyan took a deep breath and walked towards the guest room. Under his arrangement, Long Dave let the cultivators who arrived at the Immortal Sect participate in the assessment, and selected about 20 people from hundreds of people to join the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. Dozens of days passed quietly. Jiang Chen's aura had returned to normal. With the help of the pills and the holy barrier, he was completely out of danger. However, he was still unconscious. Zhang Yuan was standing guard here almost all the time. Those few disciples who had just joined the Immortal Sect had also completely integrated. It was just that the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect seemed to be peaceful, but there was a hidden calamity in the China sect of the Eastern region. After hearing the disciples' report, Su Qian stood up with a whoosh and asked in a deep voice, Jiang Chan is injured? When did this happen? About 2 months ago, when the people of the Black Sect gathered at the edge of the Outer Realm. The disciple reported honestly, this is the news that I heard by chance when I went to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. I was wondering why I couldn't even see Jiang Chen these few times. This brat. Su Qian clenched his fist and heavily smashed it on the table beside him. Great Elder, now the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect has completely sealed off the news of Jiang Chen's injury. It is said that even the Kunlun Immortal Sect doesn't know about it. His injury should not be light. The disciple was so scared that he took 2 steps back. He rarely saw Su Qian angry. The only few times, it was almost all because of Jiang Chun. Where is Yundian? Su Qian exhaled a few mouthfuls of turbid air and asked. Elder Yundian went out to travel again. He hasn't returned to the sect for 20 days. The disciple honestly said, Go to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. I want to see how that brat's injury is. Su Qian did not hesitate. After instructing the disciple, he hurriedly went out. The disciple quickly turned around and followed, but his speed was too slow compared to Su Qian. As soon as he left the sect, Su Qian's figure had already disappeared in the clouds. In the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, facing a sudden guest, Bai Xiaoyan looked particularly embarrassed. Looking at the person in front of him, Su Qian suddenly laughed. Great Elder Su, I don't know why you suddenly laughed. Bai Xiaoyan coughed lightly and asked, White Immortal King, how is the recovery of your injury? Su Qian looked at Bai Xiaoyan and said, Your aura is very weak. If you really can't hold on, you should go back and rest. Let Jiang Chen come out to see me. Jiang Chen is currently in seclusion. I was just careless when I was cultivating and injured myself. Bai Xiaoyan smiled awkwardly. Su Qian snorted coldly, stood up with his hands behind his back, and said, White Immortal King, why didn't you inform this old man about Jiang Chen's injury? Could it be that now that you have the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, you don't put this old man's Qiani sect in your eyes? Why does Great Elder Su say that? Hearing that Su Qian was angry, Bai Xiaoyan quickly explained. In this anxiety, under the impact of the anger, she spat out another mouthful of blood. Su Qian placed his hand on Bai Xiaoyan's wrist. Your injury is more serious than I thought. If you don't meditate and recuperate, I'm afraid it will affect your foundation. Sensing the condition of Bai Xiaoyan's body, Su Qian continued, take me to see Jiang Chun. I want to see how his injury is. Jiang Chun specially instructed not to inform Qianhe's sect and Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Even in our Tianji Pavilion, only a few of our junior brothers and sisters know that he is injured. Bai Xiaoyan revealed a difficult expression. All right, since you don't want to say it, then this old man will go back. But from now on, our Qianhe sect will definitely not interfere in any of your 10,000 mounts of mortal sex matters. Su Qian flicked his sleeves and lifted his foot to walk outside. Great Elder Su, wait. I'll take you there. Bai Xiaoyan hesitated for a moment, but still opened her mouth to stop him. In the room, Su Qian saw Jiang Chun lying on the bed. His face was sallow and his aura was weak. Even the holy barrier surrounding his body was very dim. This is called seclusion? Su Qian pointed at Jiang Chun and asked in a low voice. Alas! Bai Xiaoyan sighed and said, Jiang Chun's injury is indeed very serious, but fortunately, it is not life-threatening. As long as he recuperates for a period of time, he will recover. What about the medicinal pills of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy? Su Qian really couldn't bear to see Jiang Chun like this. He took one some time ago, and the medicinal effect is still in effect. If he takes another one, I'm afraid it will have a bad effect. Bai Xiaoyan said as she closed the door. Some time ago? What happened to your 10,000 mounts of mortal sect in the past few months? Su Qian keenly caught the news in Bai Xiaoyan's words. Bai Xiaoyan had no choice but to tell him everything that had happened in the mountains and in the eastern region. He fought with the sect master of the Black Sect. Su Qian didn't care about the black-robed man. He only cared about Jiang Chun's safety. Yes, this time he was too impulsive. Jiang Chun and I couldn't stop him. Bai Xiaoyan sat beside Jiang Chun and said. Chapter 1911. That's strange. The sect master of the Black Sect is not weaker than me. I'm afraid that even Xian Jun might not be able to injure him this badly. Su Qian placed his hand on Jiang Chun's chest and felt his chest rise and fall faintly. He said, Is there a problem in the outer region? I don't know about that. But Great Elder Su, the black-robed man who attacked us earlier, should be related to the Black Sky Emperor. I've been affected by the black problem before, but I was expelled by my master. Bai Xiaoyan shook his head. Like Jiang Chun, he knew nothing about the outer region. Your master? Su Qian looked at Bai Xiaoyan. My master was the previous pavilion master of the Divine Secret Pavilion. He has passed the position to Jiang Chun. Realizing that he had almost revealed Bai Xianling, Bai Xiaoyan went with the flow and said, It seems that your master is quite strong. Su Qian nodded and said without much doubt, The immortal realm was extremely vast, and there could be experts hiding in any place. Great Elder Su, I've told you about the 10,000 mounts of mortal sect. Please take care of Jiang Chun. I have to go back and rest. Feeling the pain and emptiness in his body, Bai Xiaoyan got up and cupped his hands at Su Qian. Looking at Jiang Chun, who was lying on the bed, Su Qian thought for a while. He then helped him up. Since he could not use elixirs to recover, he would use his immortal energy to heal. Su Qian patted Jiang Chun's back, and a stream of pure immortal energy was poured into Jiang Chun's body through his palms, slowly healing his injuries. While healing Jiang Chun, Su Qian also noticed that something was wrong with Jiang Chun's body. Good boy. You have 9 attributes of immortal energy. I've underestimated you. Su Qian was a little surprised, but immediately showed a gratified smile. You're indeed the younger generation chosen by the Emperor Qianji. Such talent is really peerless. After saying that, Su Qian closed his eyes. Using his mind, the immortal energy flowed to every corner of Jiang Chun's body. 6 hours later, Jiang Chun slowly opened his eyes. He's awake? Su Qian withdrew his hand and asked, Great Elder Su, why are you here? Jiang Chun was a little surprised. He quickly got out of bed and cupped his hands in greeting. The 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect encountered such a strong opponent, including the White Immortal King. Everyone in the sect suffered heavy losses, and you even went to fight with the sect master of the Black Sect alone. This courage has really opened my eyes. Su Qian heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. But on the surface, he sneered and said, "You dare to do this when you're only at the third layer of the divine immortal realm? If you break through to the immortal venerable realm, won't you directly break into the outer domain? My Chinese sect will be nothing in your eyes then." "Great Elder, what are you talking about?" Seeing that the old man knew, Jiangchen scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. "Why did you send someone to inform me that you've already found out the news? Why didn't you tell me after I was injured?" Su Qian sat on the bed and healed Jiang Chen's internal injuries with all his strength for several hours, causing some fluctuations in his immortal qi. "I wanted to take great senior brother and Zhang Yuan to find out the news," Jiang Chun said helplessly. "You didn't expect to see the sect master of the Black Sect, and you didn't expect him to be seriously injured, so you rushed up to kill him, right?" Su Qian said. "I didn't expect that his cultivation had declined to the immortal monarch realm, and I'm still not his opponent." Jiang Chen nodded. If he wasn't in the divine immortal realm, but had already stepped into the immortal venerable realm, then he might have a chance to defeat the sect master of the Black Sect. Jiang Chen felt a little regretful in his heart. If he missed this opportunity, it wouldn't be so easy to find another one. No matter how weak he is, his strength is still stronger than an ordinary immortal monarch. Not to mention that this person's immortal art is extremely sinister. It's not something you can fight against now. You should be glad that his injuries are serious. Otherwise, you can kill him with one blow. Hearing Jiang Chen's words, Su Qian sneered again. He won't. With the promise of 2 realms and the promise of 1,000 years, he won't dare to kill me. Seeing that Su Qian was a little angry, Jiang Chen quickly explained. He's now an immortal monarch. Why would he be bound by the promise of 2 realms and the promise of 1,000 years? Su Qian asked. Then, Jiang Chun wanted to say that regardless of the 2 promises, Zhou Kunlun wouldn't watch him die in the immortal world. Not to mention that by Xianling and Guhu would save him. However, Jiang Chen naturally couldn't say these words. Don't explain. Su Qian waved his hand. Although I've treated some of your injuries, it's still not fully recovered. I also heard that you've taken the elixir from the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy some time ago. Now, you can only rely on your own ability to recover. Before your injuries are completely healed, stay in the Immortal Sect. If I find out that you've done those risky things again, your 10,000 Creations Immortal Sect and my 1,000 Harmonies Sect will have a clean break from today onwards. Su Qian flung his sleeve and threatened in a low voice. Understood. Jiang Chen didn't dare to resist anymore. White Immortal King's injuries aren't light either. Zhang Yuan and Lady Huofu can't support such a big sect. That Law Protector Long doesn't seem reliable. This old man will temporarily manage the Immortal Sect for you. Su Qian stood up and looked outside the main hall. What about 1,000 Harmonies Sect? There are other elders guarding the sect. There shouldn't be a problem. Su Qian asked in a low voice. Can you tell me why you acted so rashly against the Black Sect leader? With your character, I don't think you'd do something so impulsive. I was too excited. Jiang Chen said. Is it because the 10,000 Creations Immortal Sect and Tianji Sect gave you too much pressure? Su Qian acted as if he didn't hear Jiang Chen's words and continued. Jiang Chen's eyes were startled. Since you have to take on the responsibility of reviving the 10,000 Creations Immortal Sect and investigate the truth, you also promised Emperor Qianji to let Tianji Sect reappear in the immortal world. Su Qian sighed deeply. That's right, so I want to take advantage of the fact that the Black Sect leader is injured and kill him directly. Jiang Chen nodded and said, I think that as long as I kill him, Black Sky Emperor will not reappear in the immortal world. My biggest threat can be resolved. It's hard for you. Su Qian turned around and looked at Jiang Chun, who was thin because of his injuries. There's nothing difficult about it. I've survived 10 reincarnations. Now that I'm standing in the immortal world again, no matter what, I can hold on. Jiang Chen smiled. Su Qian didn't continue to speak. The Jiang Chen he first knew was a talented but very unreliable young man. It was difficult to feel at ease with him. But the current Jiang Chen had undergone earth-shaking changes. It could be said that he was walking on the path of transforming into a strong expert. There may be obstacles and troubles, but at the end of the road, there was endless light. Chapter 1912. With Su Qian in charge. Jiang Chen completely threw the immortal sect to the back of his mind. He focused on recovering from his injuries. Another 10 days passed. At night, in the quiet 10,000-vehicle immortal sect, a fluctuation suddenly spread out. 5th level immortal realm. Jiang Chen clenched his fist, feeling the power that was much more vigorous than before and the abundant immortal force in his body. The corner of his mouth unconsciously curled into a smile. This time, not only did he break through his cultivation, but he also comprehended the Ice-Soul Bow and the extreme ice domain in the Ice-Soul Sweat Bead more thoroughly. Exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Jiang Chen pushed the door and walked out, ready to go to the training platform in front of the main hall to exercise. Walking down the stone steps, Jiang Chen was just about to open a boundary when he suddenly saw a disciple lying in front of him. Jiang Chen shook his head and quickly walked forward, ready to help him up. When he walked in front of him, Jiang Chen suddenly found that this disciple seemed to be dead. Reaching out to help him up, Jiang Chen instilled a wisp of immortal force into his body. Cough, cough. The disciple coughed twice and opened his eyes. What's the situation? Jiang Chen frowned slightly and asked him, Young master, there are thousands of insects gnawing in my body. Please save me, young master. I will definitely give my life for the immortal sect in the future. After the disciple woke up, he quickly grabbed Jiang Chen's arm and shouted weakly, I'm here, don't worry too much. Jiang Chen didn't waste any time and immediately slapped his body. The moment the immortal force entered, Jiang Chen's expression changed instantly. The disciple's condition was almost exactly the same as Huixian and Bai Xiaoyan. Black Plague? Jiang Chen raised his head and glanced around the immortal sect. The entire immortal sect was very calm, and there was nothing wrong at all. With the support of Jiang Chen's immortal force, the disciple was barely out of danger, but the expression on his face was still painful, and his divine sense was not particularly clear. What have you been doing recently? Jiang Chen held his arms with both hands and asked in a low voice. Look at immortal arts, practice. The disciple struggled to open his eyes. It was as if he had used up all of his strength to speak. Seeing that his disciple's condition had worsened again, Jiang Chen reached out and opened his eyes. He saw that his disciple's eyes were filled with black threads. A bad feeling appeared in Jiang Chen's heart. The Black Plague had spread throughout the sect. After putting down the disciple, Jiang Chen immediately rushed to the room where Su Qian was resting. He pushed the door open and entered. He saw the latter in front of a desk, dealing with some matters in the immortal sect. Looks like your injuries have healed. Su Qian smiled and pointed to the paper in front of him and said, The disciples of your 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect are almost the same as the 1,000 Harmonies sect, but the cost of immortal jade is 3 times higher. If you can save this money, you can buy a lot of immortal techniques and heaven and earth treasures from various auctions. Great Elder, let's talk about this later. Did anything strange happen in the immortal sect while I was unconscious? Jiang Chen closed the door and sat directly in front of him. He did not bother to greet him and asked directly. Strange things? Noticing that Jiang Chen's expression was a little strange, Su Qian put down the things in his hands and thought for a while. He said, Nothing strange, but the Kunlun Immortal Mountain sent people several times, but I evaded them all. In front of the main hall, a disciple was infected with the Black Plague. Jiang Chen shook his head and simply told the truth. The Black Plague of the Black Sky Emperor? Su Qian asked. Yes, I suspect that the people of that sect may not have left. They may still be nearby and secretly attacking the disciples of the immortal sect. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and said, Even if Bai Xinling was nearby, Jiang Chen still felt worried. If this kind of shady cultivator really wanted to hide, even Bai Xianling would not be able to find their traces. Once the plague spread in the sect, unless an immortal king intervened, even he would not be able to save them. There were hundreds of disciples in the entire sect. Even if all the immortal kings that he was familiar with were to gather in the immortal sect, it would still be a very troublesome matter. Not to mention that this group of disciples was chosen by him from tens of thousands of cultivators. Everyone had a certain level of talent. Every death was a loss to the immortal sect. Oh! Su Qian stood up. Although he did not fight with that person, but after staying in the immortal sect for so long, he understood the situation clearly. He walked to the front of the main hall. The disciple who was still struggling just now was now completely dead. Jiang Chen frowned and said, I think it's definitely not just him alone. Hiss. Su Qian squatted down and stretched out his hand to touch the disciple's body. A moment later, a small cloud of black, turbid gas appeared in his hand. Great Elder, what do you think we should do now? Jiang Chen stared at Su Qian's palm for a while and asked. I've never fought with them, so I can't think of any good ideas for the time being. Su Qian pondered for a while and asked, could it be the Black Sect's sect leader? Not likely. Jiang Chen shook his head. Let's investigate the sect thoroughly first and see how many disciples have been infected. Su Qian used his immortal power to drag the disciple to the side and said. A moment later, all the disciples were gathered in front of the main hall. Other than Bai Xiaoyan, who was recuperating, Zhang Yuan, Hua Fu, and Long Dade were all here. Did something happen? Long Dade held the sky-piercing spear in his hand. This was the first time Jiang Chen had gathered all of them together since the establishment of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. Didn't you all notice that something was wrong? Jiang Chen asked. No, the sect has always been normal. Long Dade shook his head. Jiang Chen looked at Zhang Yuan and Hua Fu. The two of them also had a blank expression. They did not know what had happened at all. Jiang Chen did not continue to ask. But when all the disciples gathered in front of him, he realized that something was wrong. Close to 400 disciples. Most of them looked very dispirited. There were even a few who needed the help of others to stand. This number was far beyond Jiang Chen's imagination. If this group of people all died like that disciple, then the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect's loss would be too great. He called out all the disciples. All of you, come to the main hall. Jiang Chen looked at them and ordered in a low voice. They did not know what was going on, but they still obeyed Jiang Chen's orders. Su Qian looked at the remaining disciples and said, all of you, remember, you are not to leave the sect at will. Do you understand? Remember, Elder Su. Everyone shouted in unison. In the main hall, Jiang Chen looked at the many disciples in front of him. What have they been doing recently? Jiang Chen asked Long Dade. Great Elder Su told me that you have been helping him manage the sect. Don't tell me you don't know? Chapter 1913. It's nothing. They're all in the sect. Long Dade didn't even think about it and said directly. This old man can testify to this. Since I came to the sect, almost no disciple has left. Su Qian stroked his beard and said, if Jiang Chen didn't believe Long Dade, then Su Qian would definitely believe him. But if no disciple had left the sect, how could there be so many disciples like Bai Xiaoyan who were infected with the Black Plague? One had to know that Bai Xiaoyan had fought with the black-robed man in the deep mountains and was hit by his weapon before she was infected. Suddenly, a bad thought appeared in Jiang Chen's mind. All disciples enter the back mountain. Without my orders, no one is allowed to come out. Jiang Chen didn't dare to think and quickly ordered. Under Long Dade's lead, the disciples staggered away. Looking at them, Hua Fu and Zhang Yuan gradually understood. Black Plague? Hua Fu instantly reacted. She would never forget the scene when she saw Hua Xian in the village. The feeling these disciples gave her was almost the same as the feeling her father gave her. That's right. The Black Plague has spread to the sect. Jiang Chen nodded and didn't intend to hide this matter. How is that possible? The sect master of the Black Sect has never used such a thing on us. The black-robed man fled in panic and didn't even have time to take the dozen puppets with him. Zhang Yuan sat on a chair and said, Could it be the white, immortal king's problem? Well, Fu thought seriously. Don't talk nonsense. Jiang Yuan quickly interrupted her. I just thought about it. Could it be that eldest senior brother passed the plague to the disciples in the sect when he came back? Jiang Chen's expression changed slightly. But if it was him, I should be the first to be infected. That's strange, Jiang Yuan said. I think the most important thing now is to clear the turbid qi in their bodies. If it really spreads in the sect, the consequences will be terrible. Well, Fu was a little afraid. My immortal power can only deal with 10 people. Su Qian said in a low voice. More than 200 people, at least 20 immortal kings, and above 10 days. 20, Jiang Yuan and Hua Fu were both surprised. There are over 10 immortal kings in the pavilion of divination. Jiang Chen's expression didn't change much. Above the 5th tier of the immortal king realm, Su Qian said faintly. This foul air is called the Black Plague. It was obtained by the Black Sky Emperor in an unknown domain. Once infected, even an immortal king would find it hard to deal with. But now that the Black Sky Emperor has disappeared from the immortal world, his descendants are no longer as scary as before. But if you want to completely remove it from your body, you have to be at least at the 5th level of the immortal king realm. Jiang Chen didn't say anything. An expert of the 5th level of the immortal king realm. Jiang Chen didn't know many of them. Great Elder Su Qian was one of them. Bai Xianling and Gu Hua were also qualified. If they were to search again, only Hua Xian and Ao Zhan were qualified. As for Sect Master Yunxi and Grand Elder Yunxi of the Yunxi sect, Jiang Chen did not have much hope. There were only 5 of them. It was far from the 20 people that Su Qian had mentioned. Even if all the experts in the immortal world were to gather together, there would only be about 20 people. Then wouldn't all these disciples be dead? Jiang Yuan couldn't accept it. In a few months, he had done a lot for these disciples, and he could clearly see their improvement. As far as I know, there is no other way. Su Qian shook his head and said, Will it work if we find out who did it? Jiang Chen frowned. It's useful. As long as we feed this person's blood into the mouths of every disciple, we will be able to force out the foul air. However, Su Qian paused for a moment before continuing. Regardless of whether it's the black sect leader or the black-robed person that you all spoke of with their cultivation, it's too difficult to kill them. It all depends on the effort. Jiang Chen exhaled a breath of foul air and said, Jiang Chen could only use the divine protection boundary to maintain the condition of the disciples gathered at the back of the mountain. Although it couldn't cure them, it could stabilize them and prevent the foul air from continuing to spread in their bodies. The next morning, after informing Su Qian, Jiang Chen went to the western region alone without alerting anyone else. He only returned 2 days later. This time, Jiang Chen told the Yunxi sect about the situation in the sect and asked Mountain Master Yun Wei to investigate carefully in the desert area of the western region to see if he could find any clues. Yun Wei didn't refuse Jiang Chen's request. When Jiang Chen returned to the sect, Bai Xiaoyan had already woken up and knew about the situation in the immortal sect. However, Jiang Chen didn't see him. Following the aura, Jiang Chen saw Bai Xiaoyan sitting in the deep forest. At this time, Bai Xiaoyan was no longer as energetic as before. Instead, he was very dispirited, and his whole person seemed to be shrouded in dark clouds. Eldest senior brother, why are you here? Jiang Chen walked into the forest and saw Bai Xiaoyan sitting on a tree trunk. He walked up to her and asked, What's wrong? Do you think it was me who brought the Black Plague here? Bai Xiaoyan raised her head and looked at Jiang Chen. She was at a loss. How could it be? Jiang Chen smiled and said, In the entire 10,000 creations immortal sect, only I was hit by the black-robed man, and the foul air entered my body. Although I was healed by Master later, it could have spread out before Master healed me, resulting in the current state of the immortal sect. Bai Xiaoyun sighed, and his words were filled with helplessness and self-blame. If it was really because of you, I'm afraid the first unlucky person would be me. Jiang Chen couldn't bear to see him like this. Although he had doubts in his heart, he still persuaded him. Eldest senior brother, don't blame yourself. This matter has nothing to do with you. Let me calm down here for a while. I'll return to the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion later. Now that the disciples in the immortal sect already know about the situation, they all suspect that it's my problem. If I stay, I'm afraid it will cause chaos among the disciples. Bai Xiaoyan looked at Jiang Chun and shook his head. It's indeed a little strange, but I'll investigate it. When the time comes, I'll get all the disciples to apologize to you. Jiang Chun stepped forward and put his hand on his shoulder. Let me know if you need anything. I can also go back and ask Master. Maybe he will have a solution. Bai Xiaoyan looked to the side. That was the place where he fought with the black-robed man. After sitting for a while, Jiang Chun watched Bai Xiaoyan leave and rush in the direction of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. After returning to the immortal sect, he was relieved to see that the disciples' situation didn't continue to worsen. Chapter 19:14. Due to the spread of the turbid qi in the immortal sect, even the disciples who were not infected were shaken. Some of them even had the idea of leaving the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect. They knew that in the sect, they could get cultivation resources that the outside world could not reach. But after so long, those infected brothers were still trapped in the back mountain, relying on the young master's bounded domain to survive. Once the news spread again, they would also end up like this. In just a few days, nearly 20 disciples had left. Jiang Chun did not stop them. After hearing their reasons, he did not react. He just gave each of them tens of thousands of immortal jades, which was their travel expenses. Young master, how can you tolerate this kind of thing? Lin Xiao walked in with a long spear. He was about to ask, but when he thought of the difference in status between him and Jiang Chun, he could only sigh and say in an unhappy tone, "What happened again?" Jiang Chun crossed his legs and was looking at the Emperor Qian Ji's mechanism technique. After hearing his words, he put it down and asked with a smile, "Young master, from what I know, at least a dozen junior brothers have left." Lin Xiao said angrily, "If we let them leave so easily, wouldn't it damage the reputation of our 10,000 Mounts immortal sect? If this spread out, young master's face will not look good." They insisted on leaving, so I fulfilled their wishes. There's no problem. Jiang Chun knew that he would talk about this matter. He pointed to the door and then to the seat next to him, and continued, "Go and close the door. I have something to tell you." "Okay." Lin Xiao strode to the door and closed it. Then he walked to Jiang Chun and sat down. "If you have time, do a count of who has left the sect. Whether it's 10 years, 100 years, or even 1,000 years later, these people are not qualified to enter the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect again." Jiang Chun put down his legs, brought a cup of freshly brewed tea in front of him, and said, "Well, I will remember." Lin Xiao nodded vigorously. "What's the situation in the overseas immortal mountain?" Jiang Chun continued to ask. "I just came back from there. None of the disciples on the immortal mountains were infected with the turbid air. Only our 10,000 Mounts immortal sect is an exception." Lin Xiao put away his dissatisfied expression. "That's strange. Could it be that this person knows me very well?" Jiang Chun rubbed his forehead. The reason he asked Lin Xiao to go to the immortal mountain overseas to watch was because when they were in the forest, Mei Qingyu, Gao Yuan, and the other sect leaders, as well as their disciples, had fought with him and the black-robed man. Now, when the other party made a move on him, they actually chose not to attack the immortal mountain in the sea, which was easier to obtain. This was what confused Jiang Chun the most. "Young master, there's something I don't know if I should say." Seeing that Jiang Chun was in a dilemma, Lin Xiao cleared his throat and said, "But young master, if what I said is useful, can you give me another immortal technique to read? What about the book I gave you earlier?" Jiang Chun sat up straight. "I've already read that book thoroughly, but I haven't completely mastered it yet." Lin Xiao took out the scroll from his storage ring and placed it in front of Jiang Chun. "Tell me first. If it's useful, I'll definitely reward you," Jiang Chun said as he put away the scroll. "Okay." Lin Xiao paused for a moment and subconsciously lowered his voice. "Young master, do you think it's possible that it has something to do with the disciples of our immortal sect?" "What do you mean?" Jiang Chun's eyes suddenly lit up. "I'm just thinking that our immortal sect has just been established, and the hundreds of disciples, including me, have all entered the immortal sect in a very short period of time. They also came from all over the North region. Could it be that the black-robed man, or the sect leader of the black sect that you mentioned, young master? Could it be that there's a problem with the disciples we recruited? After Lin Xiao finished speaking, he looked at Jiang Chun. That's unlikely. Jiang Chun shook his head. After thinking about it, he basically ruled out this possibility. Do you remember that I told you about the source of this turbid aura called the Black Plague? Jiang Chun looked into Lin Zhao's eyes. I remember. It's the ability of a legendary, immortal emperor. Lin Xiao thought for a moment and replied. Jiang Chun nodded. Before instructing the former to go to the immortal mountain overseas, Jiang Chun briefly explained the situation to him. Jiang Chun felt that he had absolute loyalty to him and the 10,000 Creations immortal sect. Moreover, as the eldest disciple of the immortal sect, if he didn't know anything, he wouldn't be able to handle some things and wouldn't be of any use. Even if these perfected immortals and golden immortals are related to those sections. Do you think they can escape the eyes of the immortal kings who are testing them? Jiang Chun said with a smile. Young master, I was careless. Lin Xiao rubbed his head and smiled embarrassedly. Those immortal kings who I invited to the sect to test them are all people I trust the most. It's also to prevent such a thing from happening, so the possibility of there being a problem among the disciples is not very high. Jiang Chun continued, Then I don't know what's going on. After eliminating the problem among his fellow disciples, Lin Xiao had nothing else to say. Go and get busy first. If you have time, make a few more trips to the immortal mountain overseas. Jiang Chun waved his hand at him and continued to pick up the spell on the table. Okay, young master, I'll take my leave first. Lin Xiao stood up and bowed to Jiang Chun, pushed open the door, and strode out. After he left, Jiang Chun put down the spell in his hand. The problem among the disciples had always been ignored by Jiang Chun. Back then, the immortal kings who selected the disciples, other than the two elders Su Qian and Su Yundian, were all senior brothers of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. With their cultivation, even if there was a problem among the cultivators, they would be able to see through it easily. Therefore, when Jiang Chun saw that the disciples in the sect were infected with the Black Plague and had turbid qi in their bodies, he did not think about it at all. But now, after hearing Lin Zhao's words, Jiang Chun was a little shaken. Only the sect master of the Black Sect, the few sects in the West region, and the Green Python in the East region had the Black Plague. It was impossible for the sect master of the Black Sect to be so severely injured that he was only at the Immortal Lord realm. If he really went near the sect, not to mention by Xianling, even Great Elder Su Qian would be able to see through it. As for the black-robed man, he knew that Bai Xianling was here. Since he could even throw away such a powerful puppet, it was unlikely that he would take the risk to come back. His purpose was to do something to the disciples of his sect. As for the Green Python, Jiang Chun did not consider it at all. The clan leader, Cho Su, was locked up in the Flame Phoenix clan's prison. If the rest of the clan members went near, they would definitely be discovered. Chapter 1915. Jiang Chun really could not understand how the Black Plague had entered the immortal sect. Shaking his head, Jiang Chun temporarily forgot his confusion and focused on reading the technique in front of him. Now that the sect master of the Black Sect was injured, Jiang Chun could not wait to improve his cultivation and find an opportunity to kill him before he recovered. The next day, Jiang Chun received a message from the Yunqi sect. When he heard what the disciples said, Jiang Chun was so shocked that he took 2 steps back. Young Master Jiang, are you okay? The disciple hurriedly took 2 steps forward and was ready to help him. Are you serious? Jiang Chun waved his hand and steadied himself. He focused his eyes and looked at the disciple in front of him clearly. It's true. Sect Master Yunqi said that Mountain Lord Yunwei is seriously injured and has fallen into a coma. He is not even sure if he can make it. Therefore, we can only postpone your request. The disciple was a little worried. If anything happened to the young master in front of him because of what he said, he was afraid that he would not be able to walk out of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Isn't Mountain Lord Yunwei a second-tier immortal king? How could he have been injured so badly? Jiang Chun took a deep breath and felt that his chest was a little better. We don't know either. But at that time, The sect suddenly received a message from Mountain Lord Yunwei using his spiritual consciousness. When we rushed over, he had already fainted in the desert. The disciple shook his head. Are there any signs of a fight? Jiang Chun continued to ask. The weather there is unpredictable. No one in the western region dares to enter at will. Even if someone really injured Mountain Lord Yunwei, the traces would have disappeared long ago. Thinking of the desert at the end of the western region, the disciple shuddered as he spoke. Take me to the Yunshi sect. Jiang Chun touched the storage ring. There were only 2 elixirs left in it. The disciple hesitated. Could it be that the Yunshi sect is also in trouble? Jiang Chun felt a headache coming on. That's not it. The disciple hurriedly waved his hand and said, When I came here, Sect Master Yunshi specifically told me that I only needed to bring the news and not bring you back. Enough of this nonsense. I'll give you 2 hours to rest. When it's time, come with me. Otherwise, I'll lock you in the dungeon and send you back 1,000 years later. Jiang Chun said, grabbing him by the collar. Under Jiang Chun's threat, the disciple did not dare to say a single word and could only nod his head in agreement. After sending his disciples out, Jiang Chun sat in the main hall and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Yun Wei being heavily injured was something he had never expected. It was reasonable for him to pay a visit. In less than 2 hours, Jiang Chun went to explain the situation to Su Qian. Then, he grabbed the Yunshi sect disciple who was standing at the door and rushed out of the immortal sect. There might be trouble again. Long Dade leaned against the door and whispered as Jiang Chun disappeared into the horizon. That's right. I used to treat you like a mount. Now that you're leaving in such a hurry, it's definitely not a good thing. Jiang Yuan's large hands trembled as he intertwined them together. With Jiang Chun's full speed, the 4 to 5 days that would have originally been needed to travel from the north region to the west region was forcefully compressed into 2 days by Jiang Chun. The disciple he brought along was even more dizzy and disoriented. The moment he stopped in front of Yunshi City, he fell to the ground with a thud. You should rest. Glancing at the disciple who was lying on the ground, Jiang Chun said these words and walked into the city. Young Lord Jiang, wait. It's better if you don't go in. The disciple endured the discomfort and raised his hand to grab Jiang Chun's clothes. Why? Jiang Chun frowned. Mountain Lord Yunwei came to the western desert because he wanted to help young Lord Jiang. That's why he ended up like this. The disciple stood up with great effort and said, If young Lord Jiang goes to the sect, the other mountain lords will definitely take action against you. Furthermore, if you incur the wrath of the mountain lords, the guardians, and even the disciples, I'm afraid that even the sect leader won't be able to protect you well. It seems that Mountain Lord Yunwei's position in the Yunshi sect is still very high. Jiang Chun smiled faintly. When he decided to go to the Yunshi sect, he had already expected that something like this would happen. Therefore, young Lord Jiang, please rest in the city for a while. It's best to wait for Mountain Lord Yunwei to wake up and hear what kind of trouble he has encountered before deciding whether to go to the sect. Seeing that Jiang Chun had no intention of continuing forward, the disciple heaved a sigh of relief. There's no need for that. I've never been a timid person. Jiang Chun shook his head. After he finished speaking, he walked directly into Yunshi City. The disciple shook his head helplessly. He had already done what he could. As for what would happen next, it was not something he could interfere with. After passing through Yunshi City, Jiang Chun saw the towering mountain that pierced through the clouds. Young Lord of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect, Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun flashed his waist token and said, You're Jiang Chun? The disciple guarding the gate looked at Jiang Chun. His originally kind face instantly turned fierce. That's right, I am. Jiang Chun ignored him and said, This waist token was given to me by the sect leader of the Yunshi sect. I can enter and leave the Yunshi sect freely. Are you going to stop me? Of course not. The disciple stepped aside. However, after Jiang Chun walked in, he said in a low voice, Young Lord Jiang, we've all heard a little about you. We hope that you can come out of the sect alive and not be thrown down from the mountain by the mountain lords. Thank you for your concern. I don't think that's the case. Jiang Chun waved at him and went up the mountain with a smile. Stepping on the path up the mountain, Jiang Chun did not hide his aura. Yun Wei was seriously injured and unconscious because he helped him. Jiang Chun knew that the mountain lord of the Yunqi sect would definitely take special care of him. After taking 2 steps, Jiang Chun saw the door in front of him suddenly open. Yunqi sect's 9th mountain lord, Yun Bing, wants to spar with young Lord Jiang. Young Lord Jiang? You won't refuse, right? A cold voice sounded as a delicate figure floated out. A woman with delicate features who resembled the sect leader of the Yunqi sect blocked Jiang Chen's path. Of course. I just don't know what the relationship between the 9th mountain lord and sect leader of the Yunqi sect is. You're so pretty. You're really a beauty of the West region, Jiang Chun said with a smile with one hand behind his back. As expected, you're that man's disciple. You're extremely lecherous. Yun Bing thought that Jiang Chun would either have a glib tongue and not fight with her or directly spar with her. However, she did not expect that Jiang Chun would actually dare to flirt with her. It was the first time in the entire Yunqi sect that she had treated someone like this. Hearing such unbearable words, her cheeks instantly turned red. Yun Bing, you've misunderstood. My character is completely different from Master's. Jiang Chun waved his hand repeatedly, but the smile on his face did not disappear. Chapter 1916. How shameless! Yun Bing rushed out of the mountain gate. She stretched out her arms, and the satin came out of her sleeves. Fluttering sleeves. TSK. Is she really a fairy? Jiang Chun couldn't help but sigh with emotion. His eyes were almost transfixed. How dare you speak so rudely? Hearing Jiang Chun's words, Yun Bing became even angrier. She threw the silk cloth at Jiang Chun and said, You don't have to go any further. My 9th mountain will chase you out and avenge Cloud Might Mountain Lord. Jiang Chun just stood there and looked at her. The satin stretched towards Jiang Chun without any fancy movements and immediately wrapped around him tightly. All right. Many female disciples of the 9th mountain cried out in surprise. Many of them were secretly infatuated with Yun Wei. Just think about it. He was a mountain chieftain, had an excellent appearance and figure, and was also a very upright and reliable man. Even if all the female disciples of the Yunqi sect did not fall in love with him, they would at least have a good impression of him. She saw Jiang Chun standing there motionless. Even though he was tied up by her satin, he didn't move at all. Yun Bing was a little surprised. She knew what Jiang Chun was capable of. However, when she thought of Yun Wei's situation, Yun Bing did not think too much about it. She forcefully pulled Jiang Chun up and threw him down the mountain. Pooh! A muffled sound was heard. A nearby tree disappeared. However, the satin that had tied Jiang Chun up was now stuck on the tree trunk. The tree was thrown down by Yun Bing. TSK. How ruthless. Jiang Chun sighed, clicking his tongue. Aren't you? Following the voice, Yun Bing saw Jiang Chun standing not far away, looking at her with his hands behind his back. The substitution technique just now was something that Jiang Chun had comprehended in the all-beginning junior high school when he was recuperating from his injuries. Although it was not a high-grade immortal technique, it could still be used under certain circumstances. For example, not only could it avoid the attacks, it could even tease this group of people. It's just a small trick. Jiang Chun chuckled. How dare you act so disrespectfully in front of the disciples of the 9th mountain? If I don't kick you out of the mountain today, then there's no need for me to be the mountain lord of the 9th mountain. Yun Bing was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. She wished she could chop Jiang Chun into pieces. Don't be so grumpy. If you have a bad temper, you'll age faster, Jiang Chun joked. He didn't expect that this sentence would completely enrage Yun Bing. From her sleeves, hundreds of satin suddenly floated out. They were so dense that they covered the sky and swept towards Jiang Chun like a wave. Even the sunlight was blocked, and the entire 9th mountain became dark. It's over. Jiang Chun's heart turned cold. It seemed that he had gone too far and angered the woman in front of him. Jiang Chun stretched his hand forward and clenched his fist. As he hacked down, a sword with 9 different attributes appeared in his hand. The sharp blade cut through the silk. There really are 9 types. Yunbing was slightly shocked. She could sense that Jiang Chun had 9 different attributes of immortal power in his body. But when she saw it with her own eyes, she was still shocked. After all, the Yunshi sect had only been established for hundreds of thousands of years. It seemed that only the sect master who had founded the sect had 9 different attributes. Although she was shocked, Yunbing still controlled the satin and continued to attack Jiang Chun. Each of the satin bolts contained an extremely vigorous, immortal power. Under hundreds of attacks, Jiang Chun was gradually overwhelmed by the satin. In the end, he could only defend himself. When she felt that it was about time, Yunbing was ready to stop. Her goal was only to kick Jiang Chun out of the Yunshi sect. She didn't really want to hurt him. After all, this kid was the young sect master of the 10,000 Creations Immortal sect and had a good relationship with the sect master and the great elder. She stopped him because she was angry that Yun Wei had ended up like this because of him. No matter how talented you are, your cultivation level is only at the 5th stage of the immortal realm. It's not enough for me. The Yunshi sect doesn't welcome you, so you'd better go back. Yunbing said softly as she withdrew all the satin. When the empty space was revealed, Jiang Chen's figure was not there. Oh no! Yunbing's heart sank. She thought that her cultivation level was too high, and she had not controlled herself. She had attacked too ruthlessly and killed Jiang Chun. Are you worried about my safety? However, just as she was thinking about how to deal with this matter, Jiang Chen's voice suddenly appeared in front of her. Then, the space in front of her suddenly collapsed and turned into waves of immortal power that dissipated. A boundary? Yunbing was shocked. She didn't even know when she had fallen into this trap. It turned out that she had already fallen into a trap when she was fighting with Jiang Chen. Don't move, Mountain Master Yunbing. Jiang Chen's voice suddenly appeared behind her. A slender sword was placed horizontally in front of her neck. When did I enter your boundaries? Yunbing lowered her hands. If a celestial duke lost to a divine celestial, she would be ridiculed. From the moment you were ready to use your true strength, Jiang Chun said softly. If we were to fight, I'm definitely no match for Sect Master Yunbing. I had no choice but to use some tricks. I hope Sect Master Yunbing doesn't mind. Boundary technique is also a part of your strength. I've lost, Yunbing replied straightforwardly. She knew that it was fortunate that they were just exchanging blows. If they were to fight to the death, she would have been killed by Jiang Chun. Thank you for showing mercy, Mountain Master Yunbing. Jiang Chun withdrew his sword. His figure flashed and appeared in front of her. He cupped his hands at her. You better pray that Mountain Master Yun Wei's life isn't in danger and that his cultivation isn't damaged because of his injuries. Otherwise, our Yunshi sect won't let you go, Yunbing said in a deep voice as she looked at Jiang Chen's back. Jiang Chen didn't reply. Instead, he continued walking up the mountain. He raised his head and looked at the 8th mountain. Jiang Chen didn't stop walking. Even if the remaining 6 mountain masters all came out, Jiang Chun would still receive all of them. Kid, I admit that you might have some strength. However, it's impossible for you to get past me. An old man walked out of the gate of the 8th mountain. He was the old man who kept stopping Jiang Chun and even mocked him. He was the mountain master of the 8th mountain, Yin Hong. Senior, I'm here to solve a problem. I hope that you can let me in. I guarantee that Mountain Master Yun Wei won't be in any danger. Jiang Chun cupped his hands at him and said, Our Yunshi sect can heal Mountain Master Yun Wei. However, you should quickly leave the mountain. I'm not as easy to talk to as Mountain Master Yunbing. If I lose control and kill you, I won't be able to answer to your 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Yun Hong stood before Jiang Chun with his hands behind his back. He had the appearance of an expert. Is that so? Jiang Chun didn't doubt his words. Chapter 1917. What if I insist on going up the mountain? As Jiang Chun spoke, he took a few steps forward and stood in front of Yun Hong. I'll have to kill you. Yun Hong did not continue to talk nonsense and directly stepped forward with his sword. He really wanted to kill Jiang Chun. Even if he would be punished by the sect master and the Grand Elder, he wanted to make sure that Jiang Chun disappeared from the immortal world. This lad had only appeared in the sect twice. The first time, he fought with the Poison Palm sect. The second time, he caused the Yunwei sect master to be seriously injured and unconscious. Yun Hong didn't know what kind of more complicated and serious problems would arise if the sect continued to maintain a good relationship with this brat. He also didn't want a sect to get into unnecessary trouble because of an outsider and cause the mountain chieftain or disciples to die. Let me test the true strength of the Yunshi sect master. The smile on Jiang Qin's face disappeared. He could feel the biting cold, killing intent of the person in front of him. As soon as he finished speaking, the phoenix shadow behind Jiang Qin suddenly opened up and a long sword appeared in his hand. You're merely a 5th stage immortal realm expert. Do you think that you can do whatever you want with your little cultivation? Do you really think that no one in the Yunshi sect can stop you? Yun Hong was shocked when he saw the phoenix shadow. He realized that Jiang Chun might have the bloodline power of the Inferno Phoenix tribe in his body. However, he was not prepared to stop. Yun Hong, who was a 3rd stage immortal monarch, was very fast. Before he could finish speaking, a thin figure suddenly appeared behind Jiang Chun. Kill! The sharp long sword stabbed toward Jiang Chen's back without any fancy moves. Extreme Ice Domain, Jiang Chun said softly. Behind him, cold air raged, affecting Yun Hong's speed to a certain extent. The sharp long sword that was about to hit Jiang Chen's body was blocked. He waited for the right opportunity. Brandishing his long sword, Jiang Chun parried his attack with brute force. You're really something. Yun Hong was a little surprised. He did not understand how Jiang Chun could perform such an immortal technique with his cultivation level. Mountain Master Yun Hong, I don't want to hurt you. Let me go up the mountain. Jiang Chun looked at him and said calmly, Could it be that you think that just because you can block one of my moves, I won't be able to do anything? Yun Hong sneered. Seeing that he had no intention of stopping, Jiang Chun did not continue to speak. Under the influence of the extreme ice domain, Yun Hong continued to attack Jiang Chun. Immortal power fluctuations spread out, and many 8th peak disciples stood out to watch. They had never seen the mountain master display his full strength. However, they were shocked when they sensed that Jiang Chun was only at the 5th level of the immortal realm. The mountain master was a 3rd level immortal monarch, yet he was able to fight Jiang Chun, who was a 5th level immortal monarch. As far as they knew, with such a gap in cultivation levels, shouldn't he have been able to kill Jiang Chun in 1 second? Jiang Chun wouldn't even have had a chance to fight back. After more than 100 exchanges of blows, Jiang Chun managed to resist all of his attacks. His long sword, which was shining with 9 different colors, was coming at him from tricky angles, so Yun Hong had to guard against it with all of his strength. He knew if he was careless, he could be injured by Jiang Chun's attacks. Secret technique, Heart Slash. Yun Hong shouted when his continuous attacks forced Jiang Chun to the side of the mountain. 4 huge long swords fell from the sky and sealed Jiang Chun firmly. Yun Hong held the sharp long sword in his hand and suddenly jumped into the air, stabbing at Jiang Chun. As expected of an immortal monarch's formation, Jiang Chun sensed that he had been sealed in the formation. Seeing that Yun Hong's attack was approaching him again, he formed a seal with one hand. Invisible waves spread out. In an instant, Yun Hong's formation was broken. Jiang Chun activated the ever-changing heavenly lamp. When Yun Hong was about to stab him, Jiang Chun's figure swayed and dodged to the side. Mountain Master Yun Hong, I'll let you have a taste of my formation, Jiang Chun shouted in a low voice. A tactical formation suddenly appeared. While Yun Hong was wondering how Jiang Chun had managed to escape from his tactical formation, a giant tactical formation appeared and trapped Jiang Chun inside. Phew! He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Jiang Chun's pitch-black eyes flashed with a trace of lightning. The sky above the Yunshi sect, which was originally clear, was suddenly covered by dark clouds. A bolt of lightning, which contained majestic spiritual power, struck from the sky. Crack! A dazzling light appeared. Yun Hong, who was trapped in the formation, could not dodge at all. He could only activate the immortal monarch in his body to block it. The lightning exploded. Jiang Chun snorted coldly. Since his cultivation level had broken through to the 5th level Immortal Monarch, he had become more proficient in these immortal techniques. What's this? The Mountain Master lost to a cultivator who's only at the 5th level Immortal Monarch? Many 8th Mountain disciples were dumbfounded as they watched the scene unfold before them. If they had not sensed Jiang Qin's cultivation level, it would not have been an exaggeration to say that Jiang Qin's cultivation level was above the 5th level Immortal Monarch realm. At the very least, the Immortal Monarch realm disciples in the sect could not use such immortal techniques. The lightning dissipated. Yun Hong knelt on one knee in the formation. He had resisted Jiang Qin's attack, but was injured as a result. Not bad, not bad. I've really underestimated you. Yun Hong stood up with a crazed look in his eyes. Losing to Jiang Qin, who was only at the 5th level Immortal Monarch realm, in front of all the 8th Mountain disciples was the most humiliating thing he had ever experienced in the immortal world. Once a disciple spoke out of turn, the news would quickly spread throughout the western region. Sect Master Yun Hong, you're too modest. Although Jiang Qin was displeased, he was still in Yun Hong's territory after all. Thus, he put on an act and cupped his fists at Yun Hong as he spoke. Modest? Yun Hong laughed. Then I won't be modest anymore. I'll show you the true strength of our Yunshi sect's Mountain Master. He pressed one hand on his forehead, and a hidden cloud rune emerged. Yun Hong infused his immortal power into the rune from his fingertip and smiled at Jiang Qin. 7th level Immortal Monarch realm? Jiang Qin took a deep breath and said faintly when he sensed Yun Hong's cultivation level had increased. Now that Yun Hong had displayed his true strength, Jiang Qin knew that one of them would be seriously injured at the entrance of the 8th mountain today. Now that his cultivation level had increased, the formation that Jiang Qin had cast could no longer trap him. He waved his hand, and the formation was about to collapse. All of you stop. Do you still respect me as the sect master? A piercingly cold voice rang out. Immediately, all the onlooking disciples retreated into the mountain gate. Lord Yunshi, Lord Yunwei ended up in a coma because of Jiang Qin. We don't even know if he's dead or alive. If we don't drive him out of the school, we won't be able to appease the anger of the thousands of disciples. Hearing Yunshi's voice, Yun Hong knelt on one knee and replied loudly. Even so, as long as I'm in the sect, it's not up to you to do anything. Yunshi's voice rang out again. Yun Hong wanted to retort, but he swallowed the words that were at the tip of his tongue. Chapter 1918. He could hear the anger in Yunshi's words. If he continued to persist, he was afraid that he would suffer. Yes, sect master. After understanding this, Yun Hong looked at Jiang Qin and answered. Let him go up the mountain. Yun, she said lightly. Thank you, Mountain Master Yun Hong, for giving way. Jiang Qin knew that with Yunshi's words, the other mountain masters would not stop him. He cupped his hands at Yun Hong and said with a smile, Jiang Qin, although the sect master took the initiative to exonerate you, if Yun Wei is really in danger, we will not let you go. Go up. Yun Hong got up, and the cloud seal was hidden in his forehead again. After sighing, Yun Hong waved his hand, turned around, and walked toward the mountain gate. Jiang Qin looked up at the clouds, then leaped toward the mountain peak. Along the way, many people stood in the mountain gate and looked at his figure. The fluctuation of celestial power caused by the fight between him and Yun Hong had attracted the attention of more than half of the Yunshi sect disciples. They all wanted to see what kind of cultivator could force Mountain Master Yun Hong to release the seal and make Sect Master Yun she take the initiative to let him go. Unfortunately, Jiang Qin's speed was too fast, and he flashed in front of them. Some disciples with weaker cultivation could not even catch sight of Jiang Qin's figure. Level 1 Mountain. Jiang Qin circulated his celestial power. After calming down, he lifted his leg and walked inside. In the main hall, Jiang Qin saw Yunshi. Sect Master Yunshi, thank you for your help just now. Jiang Qin stood in front of her and said, Mountain Master Yun Hong is one of the strongest mountain masters in the Yunshi sect. You actually managed to force him to break the seal and fight you to the death. You really surprised me. Yunshi smiled brightly. After Mountain Master Yun Hong broke the seal, I felt that I was in trouble. Jiangchen shook his head. Don't be humble. How is the situation in the 10,000 Creations Immortal sect now? Can those disciples still hold on? She didn't continue to dwell on this. It's still not enough. I can only temporarily preserve their lives. If I really want to expel all the foul qi from their bodies, I'm afraid I have to find that person and use his blood. Jiangchen shook his head and said, I've asked the Great Elder for you. He doesn't know much about this situation. What he knows, you also know. Yunshi raised her head and looked at Jiangchen. Sect Master Yunshi, how is Mountain Lord Yunwei? Compared to these, Jiangchen was more concerned about Yunwei's situation. It's not very optimistic. Yunshi shook her head. She was a little sad. Yunwei was one of the mountain chieftains that she trusted the most in the sect. Yunwei was the one who helped her deal with all the big and small matters in the Yunshi sect and Yunshi city. It was because of this that the sect was able to live in an orderly manner for so many years. If Yunwei had really met with a mishap, Yunshi city would definitely descend into chaos. Moreover, no one in the sect would be able to become the mountain master of the third mountain. Take me to see him. Jiangchen cupped his hands at Yunshi and said, Mountain Lord Yunwei ended up in this state because he helped me. It's only reasonable that I visit him. All right, I'll take you there. Yunshi did not refuse. She led Jiangchen out of the main hall. Yunshi went to the back of the mountain gate and stood in front of a stone door. This is the top secret place of the Yunshi sect. Logically speaking, even the disciples of the sect are not qualified to enter. Yunshi said as she looked at the huge seal on the stone door. Then Jiangchen stopped in his tracks. However, rules are dead, and people are alive. Yunshi stretched out her palm and pressed it on the stone door. The stone door rumbled and slowly opened. Suddenly, cold air leaked out from inside. The temperature of the entire world seemed to drop a little. However, Jiangchen had already comprehended the celestial magic in the icy soul pearl. This level of cold air was no longer a threat to him. He followed Yunshi into the stone door. Jiangchen saw the situation inside. The secret room was very simple. There was only an ice bed. Yunwei was sitting cross-legged on it. Jiangchen stepped forward and stood beside the ice bed. He looked at Yunwei, who had his eyes closed. Jiangchen could sense that Yunwei was seriously injured. Even his breathing was very weak. He looked like he would die at any time. I don't know if he can hold on. We have already fed him all the best pills of the Yunshi sect. The First Elder and I have also used our celestial powers to heal his injuries. Yunshi sighed softly. We have done everything we can. As for whether he dies or recovers, it will depend on his own fortune. There are other ways. Jiangchen took out a pill from his storage ring and stuffed it into Yunwei's mouth without thinking. Lin Baichao had said that as long as there was still a breath left in the body, this pill would be able to completely heal all injuries. As for Yunwei's current condition, it was also within the range of what Lin Baichao had said. Therefore, this pill should be effective. It's useless. Yunshi shook her head gently as she watched Jiangchen feed Yunwei the pill. Sect Master Yunshi, this is a pill that the First Elder of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy gave me personally. It should be able to resolve the crisis of Mountain Master Yunwei. He felt that Yunwei's breathing was gradually stabilizing. Although it was still very weak, at least it had some effect. Jiangchen turned around and said to Yunshi, Heaven and Earth Pharmacy? Is it the legendary medicinal pill? Yunshi's eyes lit up. That's right. Jiangchen nodded and said, I really didn't expect you to have such a pill. Yunshi's expression instantly relaxed. When Yunwei was brought back to the sect, I also sent Mountain Master Yunbing to the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy to ask for it. But no matter what price I offered, even if I promised Lin Baichao that the Yunshi sect would owe him a favor in the future, he wouldn't give it to me. Maybe it's too rare. Jiangchen laughed awkwardly. He had already consumed most of the pills in the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. There were only 20 pills left, and he had to save them for emergencies in the next 100 years. Naturally, he couldn't give them to people from other sections. With this pill, I can rest assured. Regardless of whether his cultivation can be restored or not, at least his life is not in danger. Yunshi stepped forward and put her hand on Yunwei's chest. Not bad, his breathing is stable and smooth. Sect leader Yunshi, let's talk in the main hall. I'm here to give you the elixirs and to ask you some questions. Jiang Chun was standing beside the stone door. Okay. Yunshi turned and left. After the two of them left the secret chamber, the enchantment shrouded them again. In the main hall, Jiang Chun sat upright. Sect Master Yunshi, when Mountain Master Yunwei was in danger, did you notice anything wrong? Jiang Chun asked with a slight frown. Yes, Yunshi blurted out. Chapter 1919. Jiang Chun knew that this would be the case. Although his disciple was telling the truth, she was only a disciple after all. She did not know as much as Yunshi did. When she gave him the news, there were some things that could not be said, and Yunshi would not tell him. How did Mountain Lord Yunwei end up with such serious injuries? Jiang Chun asked. I don't know. When we went there, he was already injured and unconscious. Yunshi shook her head and said, but we found this at the place where Yunwei was injured. She flipped her palm, and a piece of black cloth appeared in her hand. What is this? Jiang Chun looked at it carefully. It should be that person's clothes. Yunshi raised her hand slightly. Under the support of the immortal power, the piece of cloth floated in front of Jiang Chun. This, after seeing it more clearly, Jiang Chun was a little puzzled. This palm-sized piece of cloth gave him a very familiar feeling. Figures flashed through his mind, and finally, he locked onto the black-robed man who had appeared in the forest. It was indeed him. Who did it? Jiang Chun sneered. Who? Yunshi asked. The black-robed man who led our Yunshi sect to fight some time ago. This piece of cloth gives me the same feeling as the black robe he is wearing. This person's cultivation is very strong. Even eldest senior brother ended up seriously injured in front of him. Mountain Lord Yunwei is definitely not his match. Jiang Chun recalled the scene of him fighting with him in the forest and said, I just don't know which sect he is from. Ever since she fed Yunwei the elixir, Yunshi seemed to be more relaxed. Maybe Mountain Lord Yunwei knows something that we don't. Jiang Chun put the piece of cloth into his storage ring and said, Are you going to wait for Yunwei to wake up? Yunshi asked. Your 10,000 mounts immortal sect can't even take care of itself. You should hurry back. Even if Yunwei's life is not in danger now, we still don't know when he will wake up. There are people in the immortal sect looking after him for me. Mountain Lord Yunwei is in this state because of me. I should be waiting here. Furthermore, I believe that he should be waking up soon. Jiang Chun said with a smile. He had absolute confidence in Lin Baitsao's pills. All right, then you can stay in the guest room for the time being. However, don't casually walk around the sect. Right now, because of Yunwei, the entire sect is very dissatisfied with you. I'm worried that those people will make a move on you. Yunshi nodded. No problem. Jiang Chun also agreed. Now that he had successfully met Yunshi and Yunwei, he wouldn't go looking for trouble. You came all the way from the northern region. You should rest first. Yunshi raised her hand and beckoned to the disciples outside the main hall. Bring young Master Jiang Chun to the guest room. The disciple walked in and clasped his hands toward Jiang Chun. Under his lead, Jiang Chun left the hall. While staying in the Yunshi sect, Jiang Chun almost never left the guest room. However, he didn't stay idle. During this period of time, he simply went into seclusion to stabilize his cultivation, which had just broken through to the 5th tier of the immortal realm. A few days later, Jiang Chun was ready to check on Yunwei's situation. When he stepped into the main hall, he saw a disciple standing inside and reporting the situation. When Yunshi heard the news, she gently held her forehead. Sect Master Yunshi. Jiang Chun walked in and clasped his hands toward her. Yes. Yunshi nodded gently. Seeing her worried look, Jiang Chun looked at the disciple beside him and asked, What's the problem in the sect? Young Master Jiang Chun, it's like this. Ever since Mountain Lord Yunwei's accident, several sects that were originally attached to the Yunshi sect have rebelled. Now, they have directly left the sect, the disciple said honestly. Can't you just send any mountain lord to deal with them? Jiang Chun said casually. The mountain lords of the Yunshi sect were either immortal dukes or immortal kings. Their strength was not bad, and it was not a problem for them to intimidate the attached sections. The problem is that Mountain Lord Yunwei has always been in contact with them. The other Mountain Lords are not willing to help. Yunshi raised her head and said, I understand. Jiangchen nodded. That's right. They want you to do it. Yunshi sighed softly. These Mountain Lords are getting more and more difficult to control. Now that I've ordered them to deal with these miscellaneous matters, they've all declined with various reasons. Since the Lords insist on my help, I can't disappoint them. Jiangchen knew this would happen, but it wasn't like he couldn't accept it. Are you sure? Yunshi looked at Jiangchen. Sect Master, Mountain Lord Yunwei is in this state because of him. Of course, we need him to replace him. Yun Bing walked in from outside, looked at Jiangchen, and said coldly, Young Master Jiangchen, when you fought with Mountain Lord Yunwei, you displayed great strength. Are you not going to help with this small matter now? I'll help, Jiangchen said with a smile. Before Mountain Lord Yunwei wakes up, I'll take care of everything. Oh! Yun Bing was a little surprised. She did not expect Jiangchen to agree so readily. This time he had come from the 9th mountain to the 1st mountain to understand the situation from Yunshi and replace Yunwei to deal with the sects that had betrayed him. He had only said those things to provoke Jiangchen when he came in. Why not? Jiangchen looked at her and asked. No, you are willing to replace Mountain Lord Yunwei. Of course you can, but if you cause any trouble, how will you explain it to Sect Master Yunshi? Yun Bing was reminded of the frivolous words Jiangchen had said to her whenever she saw him. Yun Bing, your words reminded me of something. Yunshi patted her head and said, Jiangchen is not a member of the Yunshi sect, and he is not familiar with those sections. You should go with him. This way, you could take care of each other. I don't want to. Yun Bing turned her head away. Are you not going to listen to my orders? Yunshi frowned. Sister, Jiangchen is too frivolous. You can either send me alone or let him go alone. I won't go with him. Yun Bing suddenly changed her mind. You're indeed sisters. Jiangchen was surprised, but he was not that surprised. What did you do to Yun Bing? Yunshi suddenly looked at Jiangchen. Her gaze was extremely sharp. I didn't do anything, Jiangchen said with an aggrieved expression. I was just praising Mountain Lord Yun Bing. Go ahead. Jiangchen isn't a member of the Yunshi sect. If he goes there alone, he won't be able to intimidate them. Those sects and schools won't necessarily trust him. I'll feel more at ease if you go with him. Yunshi glanced at Jiangchen and continued to speak to Yun Bing. Hearing Yunshi say this, Yun Bing didn't continue to refuse. Chapter 1920. The two of them left the main hall together. I see Cloud Mountain Master. I'll listen to your arrangements. I'll do whatever you ask me to do, Jiangchen said with a smile as he walked behind her with his hands behind his back. Jiangchen, I'm warning you. My sister may be nice to you, but if you have any ulterior motives, I'll really kill you. Yun Bing warned as she turned to look at Jiangchen angrily. She regretted it. She regretted coming here on her own accord. She had gotten herself into trouble for something that had nothing to do with her at first. Understood, understood. Jiangchen nodded repeatedly. Also, don't tell anyone about my relationship with my sister. Very few people in the sect know about our identities. Yun Bing reminded him again. Understood. Icy Cloud Mountain Master. Jiangchen nodded again. Since he was here to replace Icy Cloud Mountain Master, he would do whatever Yun Bing asked him to do. If she didn't ask him to do it, he would just stand aside and watch. The two of them descended the mountain. After stopping at the 9th mountain for a while, they headed out of Yunshi City. Icy Cloud Mountain Master. Are there only two of you? Jiangchen followed behind her. They were traveling at such a slow speed that Jiangchen was lying in mid-air with his hands behind his head. Didn't you, me, and Mountain Master Yinhong display a very powerful strength when we fought against each other? When she turned her head and saw that Jiangchen was traveling at such a speed, she felt that he was unreliable. Her tone was cold as she said, If young Master Jiangchen is afraid, you should go back first. I can handle this myself. Of course I'm not afraid. It's just that our Yunshi sect doesn't have a single disciple following us. It's a little shabby. Jiangchen pursed his lips. I don't want to listen to you anymore. Yun Bing increased her speed, trying to shake Jiang Chen off. However, no matter how fast she increased her speed, Jiang Chen was still following behind her. In a city thousands of miles away from Yunshi City, all the gates had been closed, and the people in the city had gone into hiding. Sect leader, are we really going to leave the Yunshi sect? A disciple stood beside a middle-aged man in luxurious clothes and asked softly, I've already made my decision. The news has already spread. There's no room for regret. The middle-aged man touched the stone in front of him. He was the sect leader of the Cloudstone sect, Shi Jingtian. His name was a little intimidating, but his cultivation was only at the 6th level of the Heavenly Monarch realm. Although he was far from the experts of the top sects, he was still one of the few experts within 1,000 miles. He had already had this idea when the Yunshi sect had attacked the Poison Palm sect. They were afraid that if they provoked those sects, even they would be unlucky in the end. Originally, he was still hesitating. Who would have thought that Yun Wei would trespass into the desert at the western border and end up in a situation where his life or death was unknown? This made him immediately firm up his decision. If an immortal king could be injured, then a mere immortal lord like him and the Cloudstone sect would have no chance of survival. Therefore, when he learned of this situation, he immediately spread the news to the outside world and announced that he was withdrawing from the Yunshi sect. The other sects also followed suit. They were afraid of getting into trouble. I really don't know why the Yunshi sect suddenly attacked those sects. Shi Jingtian sighed and looked into the distance as he held the stone in front of him. In his perception, 2 extraordinary cultivations were approaching the city. Shi Jingtian hurriedly entered the city. He knew that the people from the Yunshi sect must have come. Is this the sect that's attached to the Yunshi sect? Jiang Chen looked at the huge city and asked. Yes, this sect is called the Cloudstone sect. Their sect leader, Shi Jingtian, is a 6th level immortal lord. He has been in control of this city for tens of thousands of years. He's considered one of the strongest affiliated sects in the Yunshi sect. Yun Bing nodded. After saying that, she hurriedly rushed into the city. When she arrived in front of the city, she saw that there was no one in the city and the gate was tightly shut. However, since Shi Jingtian had only announced that he was leaving the Yunshi sect and had not done anything else, Yun Bing was not prepared to do anything. Instead, she landed in front of the gate. I'm Yun Bing, Mountain Lord of the 9th Mountain of the Yunshi sect. Open the gate. I have something to discuss with your sect leader, Shi Jingtian. Yun Bing said valiantly. Yun Bing, Mountain Lord, please go back. Now that the Cloudstone sect has nothing to do with the Yunshi sect, it's best that we don't have any dealings with them to avoid being misunderstood. Shi Jingtian's voice sounded from inside. Even if you've left, you can't just leave me outside, right? Yun Bing was a little angry. Don't talk to such people nicely, Jiang Chen said. Then he walked directly to the city gate. He lifted his leg and gave it a hard kick. Kala, the gate, which was a few meters tall, fell to the ground with a loud bang under Jiang Chen's kick. You've gone overboard. Yun Bing frowned and said when she saw Jiang Chen's violent actions. However, she felt a sense of satisfaction in her heart. Perhaps dealing with the Cloudstone sect. This was the best way to deal with them. Yun Bing walked into the city easily. When she saw that there was no one inside, she immediately rushed to the innermost part of the city. You can't go in. The disciple stretched out his trembling arms and blocked in front of Jiang Chen and Yun Bing. He could sense the unfathomable strength of these 2 people. However, he had to obey the orders of the sect leader. Go to one side. Jiang Chen took 2 steps forward, grabbed the disciple's collar, and threw him out forcefully. The disciple fell to the ground more than 10 meters away and groaned twice. When the others saw how fierce Jiang Chen was, they did not dare to step forward to stop him. Between carrying out the orders of the sect leader and saving their lives, they chose the latter. Not bad. Yun Bing nodded gently and praised Jiang Chen's actions. When they entered the sect, the disciples made way for them. No one dared to provoke them, as they were afraid that they would end up in a miserable state. They successfully stood in front of the main hall. They saw Shi Jingtian walking towards them. Yun Bing, Mountain Lord, the Cloudstone sect has no other choice. I hope that sect leader Yunshi can let us live on account of our previous relationship. Shi Jingtian's face was bitter as he kept cupping his hands at Yun Bing. Tell me, why do you want to leave the Yunqi sect? As Yun Bing spoke, she walked inside. Don't tell me that now that Mountain Lord Yun Wei is injured, you think that no one in the sect can suppress you? No, no, no. Shi Jingtian quickly shook his head and denied it. When your sects were attached to the Yunqi sect, they were all new sects that had just emerged. The Great Elder only gave you a chance because he saw that you had a good character. For tens of thousands of years, the Yunqi sect has provided you with many resources to help you gain a foothold in the Western region. Even your cultivation base has risen from Celestial Venerate to 6th level Immortal Duke. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lord YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.